When I was 5 years of age, two older kids, they were beating the shit out of me and spitting on me. I wanted to grab a weapon. I was enraged. My sister was there and she said, "What happened? What happened?" And I told her. One of the kids took off and ran. The other kid tried to run into his home. My sister followed him into the home, beating the shit out of him. And there was a coat rack behind the door. She took the coat rack and started beating him with the coat rack. Well, that's when she grabbed me by the hand and she said, "You're going to the gym and you're going to learn how to box."
At age 5?
At age 5.
Wait, you went fully pro?
9 professional fights.
Holy shit.
Tough life, that money, you know. But that said, yeah, I started in California. There was one particular guy that was the main trainer. He helped facilitate me selling
No way.
the real money, if you will.
He was running a boxing gym, but he was trying to create a workforce.
Get this, now it gets even worse. Talk about a rat bastard.
Hey guys, if you're not subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video. And if you don't have time to watch this episode right now, no problem, but I'd really appreciate it if you would save it to your watch later playlist. Finally, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below. Thank you. I need your help. You can't ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we taking?
I had to start it off that way. Red Shea, welcome to the show, man. It's really, really good to have you and your lovely wife as well. Off camera. Got you off. We got you off.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
Of course. You've had a very fascinating life. I say that about a lot of people that have been in here, but you are someone who lived through one of the most notorious criminal empires of the 20th and into the 21st century in Whitey Bulger, and also the oddest one in the sense that everyone at the top was a rat except you.
That is correct. Anyone at the top. There were guys that were lower level that held their water. That's for sure, and I respect those guys, and I also recognize them, of course, and I commend them for being men. But anyone at the top, yeah, no, they all became informants.
Yeah, I actually, when I was a kid, I watched The Departed when it came out, which you were just telling me off camera. You were an advisor on that?
Yeah, I worked with Mark Wahlberg on The Departed, and that was a lot of fun. That was my first introduction to any type of movie business, if you will.
How'd you get hooked up with that?
Well, Mark was interested in my story, and so I met up with Mark, and we got to talking, and then he helped me get my book deal with HarperCollins, which became a New York Times bestseller, and he wrote the introduction to the book.
No shit.
Yeah, he's helped me out big time. You know, when I stepped out of that long vacation that I had of School of Hard Knocks.
Right. 12 years.
Yeah,
exactly.
12 years, yeah. And it could have been longer. I mean, thank God for good lawyers and stuff like that, and money on top of that. But yeah, no, Mark Mark changed my life. I mean, he really did, as far as, get me to tell my story as a stand-up guy. And he actually was in the meetings with me when we were interviewing different publishers. He came.
Mark did.
Yeah, he came for 5 hours. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing to get an A-League actor in there like that. But he wanted to, because he's a Catholic guy and he's a Christian. He wanted to see me do better in life after walking outside those prison gates, if you will, and he knew that I was never a rat, and that was one thing that intrigued him. He respected that immensely, and he loved the story. He liked the story a lot, and he's definitely changed my life around with me being able to write a New York Times bestseller. I mean, it's amazing. It's life-changing, to say the least.
Do you ever worry about if something like that hadn't happened, you had come out of prison like a couple years before that came out, 2-3 years before, if you didn't have anything, it could have gone wrong maybe because you didn't know anything else. Like, you grew up in this. Was that ever like a fear that you'd go back to it?
So I had a lot of time to think, obviously, and I was getting messages and information while I was inside doing my time like the man I was. And they said, hey, listen, the FBI is going to be waiting for you. They're all going to be waiting for you. All these agents are waiting for you to come out. And they believe that that you're going to take over, that you're going to be the new boss in town. And I figured so much. I mean, it was a no-brainer to know that. And when I got home, my great attorney, who was on the John Gotti case, he represented Fat Tony Salerno in New York. His name is Cardinelli.
Oh, no. So it's not Bruce Cutler.
No, Tony Cardinelli.
Okay.
And he sat me down when I got home and he says, do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Don't go back. I'm going to tell you why. Now, back at that time, he unraveled on how many informants that there were in Boston in the underworld. And there were hundreds of them, hundreds throughout the years that the FBI had created throughout the years. And Tony Cardinelli knew who they were and who their handlers were throughout every year that went on for the last, I want to say 40 years anyway.
How did he know that for guys that hadn't already turned over and had to testify in court?
Because he broke the case open and they had to reveal who the government had to reveal who was a snitch at the time and who was cooperating in a confidential informant and stuff like that throughout the underworld.
Is that because of the whole John Connolly thing where he got caught up in it? So then they were forced to because of that only?
Yes, that was true to John Connolly, the corrupt John Connolly, FBI agent, and of course Whitey Bulger being his main guy as an informant for years. Now, none of us ever thought in the underworld that Whitey was giving information. We all thought that he was getting and paying for that information through John Connolly, but it was not the fact in the end that Tony Cardinelli had broken open and found out.
And so it was Cardinelli kind of blowing the whistle on it that then led to literal, I would imagine, court documents and hearings happening that forced the FBI to do this. Am I understanding that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So when you were in, and we're going to get into your whole backstory and obviously how this happened, but just from a high level scenario on what you said there, when you were in, did you guys see and know that Whitey had a relationship, even if it wasn't with, you didn't see it with Connolly, but he had it? You would be there for meetings when he would meet up with some of these FBI guys where you're running security and you think that he's just paying that guy off, but in reality, right in front of your face, he was actually doing the opposite? Is that what it was?
No, he would meet John Connolly at night, and one of the places he met him was a place called Castle Island, and it's a big fortress, and they made that fortress back in the George Washington days in the harbor, out in the harbor of Boston. So when the British would come in with their ships and to attack, they would have their cannons up there to defend and defend the harbor of Boston. And he would love to go down there and go on to one side of it and speak and talk whatever he wanted to, because no surveillance device could capture any voice or anything like that. So he used to meet John Connolly down there at night, and plus you're out of the at nighttime, nobody's really down at Castle Island at night. They're down there during the day. And one of the biggest things that Whitey always said was nighttime was free camouflage. So he used all of these little techniques, if you will, in surviving and getting through, getting information and giving information to John Connolly.
Like a good Fed, you could say.
Yeah. Yep.
And you never suspected in all the years?
a good fed on John Conley's.
No, I was making a joke.
Yeah.
I was like,
No,
like a good fed.
Yeah, a good fed for maybe as Whitey the Rat. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, today I call him King Rat. And yeah, he was my boss. I looked up to him and stuff like that. But after what I found out and discovered and how I would never, ever rat on him, even after the fact that I found out that he was a rat, I could have came home earlier to my attorney, Tony Cardinelli. He said, I have to tell you, I know what the answer is going to be, but if you want to cooperate with the DEA, not the FBI, with the DEA against Whitey Bulger, you can come home early. I had another 5 years to do.
5 years.
Yeah. So I says, listen, I walked in a man, I'm walking out a man.
You did. I mean, damn. You do understand a lot of guys sitting in your seat right now, especially on a microphone, the same can't be said, right? For them.
I know that. And I have a problem with that, a little bit of a problem, not a big problem, but a little bit of a problem. You know, a lot of podcasts will have these guys on that cooperated. And I don't think that the people that are interviewing them are asking them the real solid questions, you know, because they don't want to hurt their feelings. They want to be a gentleman about it or whatever it might be. But I can tell you this, they should ask the real hard questions. You got a guy like who's, I don't even want to mention his name, but I can't stand the guy. But his name is Gene Borello.
Seen him around?
I know you have. Now, here's a guy who says, oh, any guy who's a stand-up guy and talks about his life and being a stand-up guy in the mob or this and that, it really is a rat. No, absolutely fucking not. Stand-up guys have the right to be able to talk about how to be a stand-up person, not a rat. This guy talks about, oh, I only ratted because they were on tape and they were going away anyway. You're still a fucking rat, no matter what way you look at it, okay? So my point is this, Julian. When you're interviewing one of these rats, please ask him the hard question like a Gene Borello when he ratted on 12 people. Helped rat on 12 people. Whether they have tapes against him or not, he still testified. He still ratted against them, 12 people, and he put those guys away for life. Well, let me tell you something. When you ask these guys this question, and I'd appreciate it as an observer of your show, because I love your show. I think you do a great job with it.
Thank you.
But I would love you to say, hey, how do you feel today? You weren't supposed to rat ever. That's the code. You never rat. But how do you feel today that you ratted on 12 people and they've all gone away and you did very little time, and you're out here walking while they're all dying in prison? How do you feel about that today? That's what I would like that asked of.
I'll one-up you. We can do the whole Chris Hansen thing, but instead of Chris Hansen, it'll be you out there. We'll be like, I'm going to invite in a friend right now, and you can sit down right there and fucking ask him. That'd be hilarious. No, I see how seriously you talk about it, and you lived it. That's
I lived
the thing.
it. And don't ever, any of these, you know, these snitches, yeah, I've gone against them. I've talked against them, and I talked against any snitch. And they talk, oh, this guy, you know, whatever, him, he wasn't this, he wasn't that, whatever. This is all deflection and projection. And that's what these informants do. They project and they deflect because they can't live with themselves. Because deep inside, when they look in that mirror, they see the person they really are, a rat. And that's the bottom line. They really do. And they have to live with that. And they try anything they can to make themselves feel better because they, deep inside, they are living as a rat. And, you know, the funny thing about it is, Whitey used to say to me, or he had said to me, when I got indicted and I got, arrested, and he said, it takes a strong person to reach inside themselves and say, I'm here because of me. I'm here because of me. Not because of you, not because of him or her. I'm here because of me, because I made that decision to do these things.
And that was the guy telling you that.
And that was the guy who played chess, not checker.
Yeah.
Checkers.
Yeah. Wow, that's heavy too to think about. I can imagine the anger because talking with you off camera, it's still the guy's dead, and the anger is still very much there for you because not only
Well,
did you grow up idolizing the guy, but he was telling you to do these things that he was just stabbing you in the back all the way along.
well, how it all started was he got the DEA in Washington spoke with the FBI in Washington.
That happens.
It does. It does.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, believe it or not. And they said, and they were talking to the number 2 in charge at the time. Number 2 FBI in charge.
In Boston or in DC?
Washington.
Okay.
And they said to him, hey, listen, we're going to be targeting these Irish guys, the DEA said, for drugs.
Racist fucks.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't like the... But anyway.
All right, we got to mark down.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I told you, you say whatever you want.
Okay.
We got to fix it for our overlords at YouTube later.
So anyway, after the meeting, the number 2 in charge, he says to his guy, the guys that they want to investigate for drugs and doing drugs and this and all that in Boston, the Irish guys, aren't they with us? Aren't those our informants? Aren't those our guys? Isn't Whitey Bulger our guy? So the guy turns to him. He says, yes, they are. They're with us. They're our guys.
Oh my God.
He said, you get on the phone immediately. Call Boston. Call Boston and let them know that the DEA is coming for them for drugs. So they gave him the heads up, Whitey, through John Connolly, the corrupt FBI agent, and John Morris, who was another corrupt FBI agent that dealt with Whitey, and he paid money to him, and he gave free trips to him for him and his wife to fly to vacations and wine, beautiful $100,000 bottles of wines, and you name it. Okay. They called Boston, told him, he told Whitey. So Whitey, being the chess player that he is, and the very intelligent and cunning individual, he knew he needed somebody. He knew he needed somebody that he could trust, that it could insulate him from the DEA. Somebody that would never rat on him, would never give him up. But yet, he knew he had to give the DEA something. Just give him something to end it. So I was that guy. I brought up in the ranks, and eventually I took over the drug organization after I was put through a test. That test was, he brought me in, I was called. He said, Red, come on down, we want to see you.
What year is this?
Ballpark. Late 80s. Okay. Late, almost 90. I'm somewhere around there.
So you're still young. You're early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, yeah. And so I said, yeah, sure. I get down. And I said, come on in here. I want to show you something downstairs. I said, sure. I get downstairs and I walk down. They're behind me. I said, what do you want to show me? In the basement. And I turn around and Uzis were on me. They said, tell me everything about the guys that are good friends with you that are making a lot of money with you. How much money do they have? Tell me about them. I looked at him, I said, excuse me? I was shocked, like. So he says to me, tell me now. I said, whatever they have is all through me. All through me. I gave them what they have today. It's all mine. I'm the guy feeding them. Whatever they have is through me. He cocked back the Uzi. He said, I want more information. I said, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Now, a young guy. I have balls like no tomorrow, right?
Yeah, you got some fucking elephant balls.
But I was ready to die for my friends and not give them up in a basement where if he whacked me, nobody would have known. Nobody would have heard it. After that, he said, you passed the test. You're in charge now.
I was thinking back to in the movie The Departed, which is loosely based on this stuff, you know, how nasty that scene is where he takes him into the back billiard room and Jack takes Leo and with his broken hand takes off the case. He said, well, you know, and then starts hitting it with the boot. But I think the Uzi's a whole different level because a boot's not going to kill you. An Uzi, you're gone. And you're like 22, 23. And you have the presence of mind. Younger. You have the presence of mind to be like, this is what it's about. This is the life I've chosen. This is who I am. I'm a man, so I'm not going to say anything.
Do what you got to do.
Now, how do you react when obviously you're live here today, so they lowered the Uzis and they didn't kill you? Was it like a congratulations, like you graduated kind of thing? Like you said, he put you in charge, but was he like happy or was it more like, okay?
Well, he was definitely happy, I could tell you that, but I wasn't too fucking happy. I wasn't too happy at all. You can guarantee that. As a matter of fact, I still have disdain about that ever since, especially knowing that a rat did that to me. You know, knowing that a rat, that doesn't sit well with me. Yeah.
I can imagine.
But he taught me a valuable lesson. I was never going to be put in that position ever again. Ever again. No fucking way.
Like being led down into a basement?
Oh, yeah. It ain't happening. Oh, no.
How you getting out of that one?
Yep.
Boss tells you to go to a basement. What do you do?
I don't give a fuck. You go down. Well, I'll handle everything up on the street.
Sounds about right, sir.
Yep. I'll handle everything up in the street. Fuck that. I ain't never doing that again. Yeah, he taught me a valuable lesson. But all kidding aside, he gained so much respect, I guess you could say, and trust in me after that.
So much so to make you a fall guy.
Yeah, he knew I'd take the hit. And I was a young guy, so I could, if it was 12 years or 20 years, I could do it because I was young. I'd be out at a relatively still, I'd still had plenty of time, plenty of life left, if you will.
Right.
So he calculated everything in. He was a very, very intelligent man when it came to anything like that. Again, everybody else was playing checkers and he was playing chess.
Let's go back to the beginning here, because this is like a really good preview of where things ended up. People at home right now are on the edge of their seats, I'm sure, because it's crazy that early too you get to a position like that. But you grew up. You've lived in Boston your whole life. You grew up in Southie, right? Yeah,
South Boston, aka Southie, my hometown.
Was your family involved with crime at all, or?
So I had a relative that grew up with Whitey. And he used to go in and wake him up every once in a while at the house and say, "Get up out of bed, Richie." And they'd go and and they'd go out and they'd hijack trucks and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you get taught that at a young age?
No.
With toy trucks?
No, I was doing that when I was living in the projects. My friends and I would be on the corner. We would wait for a truck to pull up that was making a delivery to a local store or market there, I should say. And it was Bell's Market, if you will. And it was Bell's Market.
Shout out.
Yeah, and it's not there anymore. But yeah, Bell's Market was pretty good. They had everything in there, but that you wanted to get. We wait for the truck anyway, and while the driver went in, we would run up to the back of the truck. If it wasn't locked, we open it easily, and he would have cases of cigarettes. Cases of cigarettes. Yeah. So we'd unload them really quick, and then when he'd come out and he'd go to open up the back of the truck. There were the cases of cigarettes were gone. And well, they were gone. They're already in the projects, forget about it. And then, as soon as he leaves, we watch and wait. As soon as he left, we went back into Bell's Market and say, hey, you want to buy these cigarettes for a lot cheaper?
How old are you when you're doing this?
We were like 15,
Oh, my
16.
God.
Yeah.
Was your, what did your parents think about what you were doing?
My mother didn't know. I only had my father died when I was very young. I didn't know my father at all. He died of cirrhosis of the liver, unfortunately. But it is what it is. From drinking, yep. From alcohol. Yep.
How old were you again?
I remember the knock on the door, and it was my uncle knocked on the door to tell my mother that my father had passed away. And I remember it distinctly, believe it or not. And I was behind my mother because I was always like, I was the only boy, and I grew up with all sisters, older sisters. I was the youngest, so I was kind of like the mistake, if you will, because there's almost a 10-year difference between me and the youngest sister, believe it or not. And my uncle knocks on the door, and he says to my mom, he goes, Al died. He's dead. He passed away. I wanted to let you know. And she says, oh, God, okay. And I remembered that distinctly as a 9-year-old kid standing behind my mom. And I knew who Al was, of course. And I didn't go to the funeral, but I drove by with another uncle, and I seen my mother going into the O'Brien's funeral home at Southie, where a lot of people were waked. And I seen my mother going in there, and she was all dressed up in black. I mean, yeah. Yep.
So he wasn't living in the house.
He never lived with us. He never lived with me, I should say, at that time. My mother had kicked him out when prior to me being born.
So you really didn't have a relationship with
I
him?
did not have a relationship with him, no. So getting into that, that's why I think the world that I got gravitated to was because of that, and the older guys in the neighborhood. I was the youngest guy involved, and the guys, they were all older, and I kind of looked up to that. I kind of gravitated. I did gravitate to that because they were all like big brothers or a father figure to me.
Yeah, you didn't have any men in your life. You had all older sisters and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You gravitated towards people who could kind of fill that void, but, when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe before you were running with some of those guys, was there like a conscious void in your life where you had disdain for your dad and the fact that he wasn't there or hadn't been in your life before he died?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that. I didn't have disdain for my dad because I didn't really understand it as such a young child, but I had disdain for my mom.
For your mom? Why?
Because I felt as though because she was so hard-nosed and strict, I felt as though she kicked him out of the house. She got rid of him.
So you felt like maybe he didn't deserve that?
Yes. Yep.
So she was she really strict on you guys growing up with what you could do? Oh. That's hard to believe considering you were robbing cigarettes when you were 15.
Yeah, well, she didn't know that. I mean, she didn't know that. But yeah, I was always I was a good child at times, but I was always a problem child.
Define problem child.
I was definitely a problem child for my mom.
Like getting into fights at school at a young age kind of problem?
Well, when I first started boxing, the reason why I started boxing is because when I was 5 years of age, I was put down in the gutter, and there was water running down the hill, and I was at the bottom of the hill in the street in Southie, and the two older kids beating the shit out of me at 5. And that's just the type of lifestyle it was back then in the neighborhood. Yeah. Exactly. So not only was I getting soaking wet from the water coming down from the hill down the gutter, but also they were beating the shit out of me and spitting on me. And I was 5 years of age at that time. 5 years of age. And they finally let up. And one of the kids lived, it was in front of his house, lived down the street from us. And I ran up the hill and I ran into the house and I was enraged at 5 years of age. And I wanted to grab a weapon. I tried to grab a weapon, a knife, to go back out at 5 years of age.
A 5-year-old grabbing a knife.
A 5-year-old. And my sister was there, and she said, "What the hell is going on? What happened? What happened?" And I told her. My sister was their age, because she's almost 10 years older than I.
Oh, they were like 15 doing this to you?
Yes.
That's kind of pathetic. That's totally pathetic.
So my sister says, "Come with me." Right out of the house, down to the street. The 2 kids were there in front of one of the kids' house that lived there. And she started beating the shit out of them.
Your sister did.
Beating the shit out of them.
They're built different in Boston.
You got that right. So one of the kids took off and ran. The other kid tried to run into his home. My sister followed him into the home, beating the shit out of him. And there was a coat rack on behind the door.
She didn't hang him on it.
She took the coat rack and started beating him with the coat rack.
I see why you were an advisor on The Departed. There's a lot of scenes that they feel like they're inspired.
And by the way, I think they stole that from me. I'm telling you, I think they did. Them son of a guns. I'm telling you right now.
My name is Sing, motherfucker. Sing.
Exactly.
My God. I'm just trying to imagine, and I can't, because I'm very lucky. I feel like I had a great childhood. But 5 years old, first of all, getting bullied by 15-year-olds, I don't even know if I've ever heard of that. That's like pathetic shit. But at 5 years old, you have to witness you have to be a victim of a scene like that, and then even have the presence of mind to say, you know what, I'll grab a knife to defend myself. And then your sister says, "No, hold on, let's go," and goes and beats the shit out of him. And you're watching this and you're going, that's how you have to handle yourself in the world.
Well, that's when she grabbed me by the hand and she said, "You're going to the gym and you're going to learn how to box."
At age 5.
At age 5. That is correct.
So your sister's the one that took you to the
My
gym.
sister started the whole boxing career for me. Yes.
They let kids box at age 5?
Oh yeah, every year, and it's coming up now because March is upon us, and every year it's March 17th. They have the what they call the Irish Baby Golden Gloves, and you know they match the kids up, the young kids and stuff like that. It's a tradition in Southie that's gone on for many years, and it's still going on. It's actually going on at a gym. Peter Walsh's gym in Southie. Peter's a great guy. I remember when Peter came to the gym when he was a young kid from the projects. I remember it distinctly. The first day he came into the gym with his mom, and he was just a young boy, and he's younger than me. And his mother says, "Yeah, he want to learn how to box." And I was there that day. I never forgot it. Of course, I haven't forgotten a lot of things in life, but.
Yeah, you seem to have a good memory.
Yeah, unfortunately. And some things I might not have a good memory at, though. I'll tell you that.
You must have had good defense, because you don't seem like you got your bell rung too much. Feels like you were doing a lot of the ringing.
Yo, thank you. Well, so
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But no, it's just funny you say that, because my trainer, Tommy Connors, used to say to me, if the guy on the other side in the other corner, he looks mean and really ugly, he said, "Don't worry about it. It's a good sign." So, you know, I'm a young guy going, and how is that? He goes, "Well, somebody had to beat the shit out of him to do that."
Yeah.
He said, "It's the good-looking guys you got to watch out for."
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought that up. He said that years ago.
No, it's a good point. I'm just, it sounds very normal up there to be putting 5-year-olds in there.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I used to train over at Whippany Athletic Club where like a lot of really, really great fighters were training over there. I think the youngest I ever saw coming in there was like 8 or 9.
Oh,
so 5's a whole different
I
level.
have pictures. I'll send you the pictures of me when I was a young age boxing.
Not helping Irish stereotypes.
In in the ring, that is.
In the ring.
In the ring, boxing.
Did they have you in headgear?
No. Sometimes.
Come on.
I have a picture of a competition, but I had the big glove. We had the big gloves on, and I'm smiling as I'm throwing an overhand right over the kid's jab, smiling because I'm loving every bit of it as a kid.
I got to make sure this isn't Photoshop midget wrestling.
Yeah.
I got to make sure.
Absolutely
5 or
not.
6, you're in there, no headgear.
Yeah. I even have a picture of a group of us from Southie with the famous trainer, Freddie Roach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you. And you still train kids today, right?
I am training kids at my buddy's gym, and he has a gym called Sonny's Gym in Middleton, Mass, and he just had his kids won the Golden Gloves in Lowell, where I won a few times myself, and me and Micky Ward trained and fought together, I should say, not trained, but we fought together. I've known Mickey since I was 11 years of age.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we fought each other when I was 13 in the Silver Mittens finals, and he beat me on a decision. So I always razz him about it. I don't forget that. Let me tell you, I haven't forgotten. Oh, yeah. He's such a great guy. Really, we're such good friends. I'm really blessed to have him.
You just did a podcast with him too, right? On your show?
On my podcast, yes. That's going to be coming out soon. We're taping now the episodes for that, so it'll be out shortly. Yeah, the Red Shea podcast.
That's got to be cool.
It's
Taking a
great.
trip down memory lane, and you get to record it for everyone to see.
We did talk about us on the podcast of being together when we were kids and fighting each other, and then after that was in the juniors that we fought each other, and then later on we fought each other in the amateurs. And it's a funny story. That particular night, my trainer says, "Go tell Mickey they matched me and Mickey up." I said, "Oh yeah, okay, let's go." So my trainer says, "Go tell Mickey you're gonna kick his ass tonight, and that you haven't forgot that he beaten you years back in the Silver Mittens in the finals." I said, "I'm not doing that. I'm saving my energy. I don't want to waste any energy. I want, seriously." So he goes, yeah. My trainer kept on bothering me. I said, "All right, let me shut him up and just go do it." So I go over and I see Mickey. He's sitting down, getting his hands wrapped by his brother, Dickie Eklund. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Hey, Mick." He looks up. He goes, "Yeah." I says, "I haven't forgot that you beat me in the Silver Mittens by a decision in the finals." I says, "Well, tonight I'm kicking your ass. You're not beating me tonight. Tonight you're not winning." And I walk away. The guys around Mickey that was sitting there were like, "Who the hell is that guy?" Mickey goes, "Oh, he's from Southie. He's crazy." I heard it but in earshot, and I bursted out laughing. So now I'm trying to relax, and I go, "Holy shit, I just told Micky Ward I'm going to kick his ass tonight."
Gotta back that shit up.
Gotta back that shit up. I'm a man of my word. One day, So I lay down, I put a towel over my eyes, keep the light out from the dressing room, and I relax. So I get ready, I wrap up after that, get my gloves on, get in the ring with Mickey. I take it straight to Mickey. No holding back or feeling out or anything. Let's get it on. I told you I was going to bring the heat tonight. I told you I was going to win tonight. Let's get it on.
Little head body action?
Everything. Right hand, no jab. There was no jab involved. There was no jab. It was all power shots. It was like pit bull to pit bull. And we were going at it. Right hand, left hooks. Just going at it. And all of a sudden, the bell rings, but we don't hear the bell.
Oh, you're still going?
We don't hear the bell. We're still going. The referee jumps in, tears us apart, and says, "You're both disqualified." He disqualified the both of us in the first round because we didn't hear the bell and we kept on fighting.
Oh, that's the fun police. Come on.
Exactly.
He can't do that.
Exactly. But anyway, that's my claim to fame. I have never been disqualified in a match before, and neither had Mickey. So my disqualification was against Micky Ward, the former world champion, when we were in the amateurs. But
That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But Mickey's such a great guy. And then they made the movie after Mickey, the fighter with Mark Wahlberg, and made $100 million. I mean, you know, I'm so happy for him. You know, no better person it couldn't happen to have that happen to. I mean, really, he's such a really good guy.
Another fucking great movie, too.
Yeah.
Boston makes a lot of great movies.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of my favorites take place in Boston.
We in Boston do.
Yes, for sure. But that's so cool that you got that good. Like obviously you ended up using these skills in your later career, but throughout your childhood, like you were a legit fighter, and it's something you can now do today.
Well, I also had 9 professional fights.
You went fully pro too?
Yeah. I started
age?
in California at 18.
Holy shit.
Yes.
While you're like dealing blow?
At that time, I stopped, wheeling and dealing, and I went out to California to pursue my boxing career, my first love, if you will.
Okay. So that was a little bit of time off. How long did that last?
A couple of years. And then I wasn't making the money that, I had that money, and it was, it's a tough life, I mean, if you don't have the money. And, but that said, I started in California.
One of my friends who's been on the podcast, episode 70, back in the day in 2021, he was one of my boxing trainers, this guy, Lou Issa. You ever hear of him? That sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
It might sound familiar for a couple of reasons, but his story, if I could truncate it, was he grew after his senior year of high school. He was like 5'9". He was a cornerback. He was a Golden Gloves boxer. But then he grew to like 6'6", 300 between senior year and freshman of college. So the fucking local college coach, I think at St. Peter's.
What a growth spurt.
It was insane.
Yeah.
So local coach sees him because he didn't get signed by anyone. And he's like, who the fuck are you? Gets him in there. So he plays like maybe Division II or D1 AA ball. And didn't play at a big enough school to get looked at. So he does try out with Don Shula and the Dolphins because he was so big. Blows out his knee when he's down in Miami. So he had been a boxer, decides to go to Fifth Street Gym with, Angelo Dundee, and it's where Muhammad Ali was training because that was his hero. And instead of like just going there to see Ali, he's like, well, I'll hit the bag. Starts hitting the bag, and Dundee walks over, and he's like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I'm Louis, I box a little bit. He's like, all right, you can stay. Long story short, he becomes a heavyweight contender. He becomes Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, and all the big guys would come spar with him because his skill was that he could mimic fight styles. So, like, if Frazier was going to go fight Foreman, he could play Foreman and, like, do a decent job.
Sure, yeah.
So he starts off his career 18-0. He's partying every night, but he's just, like, natural talent. To this day, like, my one buddy who went pro, that was his trainer, like, when he would warm up, before the fights, Lou would be out there with the mitts, and the bodies would be straight to Lou's body. Like, he's like, all right, hit me right here, kid. Like, he's still a brick shit house right here. So he goes 18-0, and then he starts fucking off because they got him I think it was the Mendoza brothers. They got him a job while he was, like, on the come-up as a bouncer at the local club. And some dude rolled up in a car one of the early nights and, had, like, the big chain and whatever, walked out, and Lou's like, who the fuck are you? And he goes, I'm the guy that runs this place. He's like, no, you're not. You're not my boss. And the kid pulls out a matchbox and says, open that up. And there was a gram of cocaine in there. And he goes, that's why I'm the boss. And Lou goes, you selling that in here? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, not anymore, you're not. I'm selling now. So he gets into that, starts making a lot of money, ends up becoming one of the initial cocaine cowboys in Florida. He was the one getting the bags off the Biscayne Bay. And his career fizzles out because he was making too much money doing coke. And then he was another guy. He didn't rat. He did time in prison and everything for all that. But crazy story because it's similar in the sense that he was making money boxing, but it was
Yeah.
not anywhere
The
near.
two parallels.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. So it's, I don't know. It just kind of reminds me of that. And you were also weren't you doing deals down in Florida too?
Oh yeah, that's where all my cocaine came from
Of course
Miami.
it did. Yeah.
My first kilo came from Key Largo, Key West, I should say.
What year you think?
Oh boy, in the 80s. Yeah,
You might have overlapped at the end of his run there.
Yeah.
We got to check that afterwards.
yeah, in the 80s.
That's funny. All right, so but you became this boxer, obviously enough to go pro when you're 18. The one thing I've been wondering why you're talking about this is though, like to get in there at age 5, you had these. Did you have the same trainer like as you were moving along, or did you work with all different guys?
No, in the beginning, it was
Yeah.
different trainers that donated their time to the gym with the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some of them were fighters, and some of them were even professional fighters. But then there was one particular, as I started getting older, there was one particular guy that was the main trainer, and he was Tommy Connors. And he taught me everything I know about boxing.
Did you gravitate towards him as like a father
Oh,
figure?
100%.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, he used to call me his son. He treated me like a son.
Did he know some of the stuff you were doing as you got into your teenage years when you weren't in the ring? You know, like robbing cars and stuff like that, or trucks?
He helped facilitate.
Come on.
Yeah,
I didn't expect to hear that.
he helped facilitate. He helped facilitate me selling drugs.
Really?
Yes,
You usually hear the opposite type
he
story.
he was the financer.
So he was running a boxing gym, but he was trying to create a workforce.
And he got indicted with me.
No way.
Yes.
Now, was he involved with the Winter Hell Gang at all?
No, and I wasn't. And a lot of people say I went to Hill, but the Went to Hill gang was dismantled years ago, and there were Whitey's a fraction of the Went to Hill gang that he was associated with at that time. So yeah, I was never a Went to Hill gang. The Went to Hill gang had been fractioned off, if you will. So and that happened years back.
That's so interesting, though, that your boxing trainer was the one who facilitated it. So when you started to like flame out with your career, meaning like you were deciding to go the other way, was he literally like, "Yeah, you should do this with me"?
He knew he wanted to make money himself, obviously, and he had a guy that was able to do that with in me.
Wow,
Yes.
that's a new one.
Yeah, my sister's not too happy with him. She doesn't like him because she knows that he facilitated that, and
Yeah.
and I mean he didn't do that much time at all. Because he was in a low level part of the case, if you will.
He was the facilitator, but he was on a lower
Well, he
level.
facilitated originally when I was younger, but in the
Mm.
particular case, he was in a you know, he wasn't a hands-on guy like I was. You know,
Right. You had surpassed him.
I've surpassed a
By a
lot
good
of
bit.
people. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, is your mom still alive today?
No, unfortunately, she died a while back.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, we're all going to be there, brother.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, I accept my wife. I got this special remedy for my wife where she's going to stay beautiful and live forever.
That's exactly what you want to hear. It's a good husband right there. I approve. But did you ever, I mean, we had talked about some of that feeling the disdain for your mom over your dad. Did you ever develop a close relationship with her or talk to her about that before she died? What did that relationship turn into?
Yeah, I talked to my mom about it, and she said, "Hey, I tried everything in the world to get him to stop drinking. Of course, being Irish Catholic, took him to the priest. Like the priest is gonna, cure him from being an alcoholic. I mean, who knows? Maybe he could have. I don't know.
Your friend Father Pat might have.
Oh, Father Pat, he's a solid guy. Oh, I love Father Pat.
Put a pin in that for 1 sec. We'll come back, but let's stay on this with your dad.
So yeah, I talked to my mom about it, and And I got a better explanation and understanding of what happened, and that he had a sickness, and there was nothing that she could ever do about it, even though she tried her hardest to help. And but there was no helping.
Knowing what you know now about that, because you were also a kid when this is happening, you can't possibly fully understand what addiction is and what that can do to a family.
That is
Was
correct.
there a level of forgiveness for her over time
Oh
based on
yeah,
that?
I forgive her as I get older.
Yeah.
As I was able to comprehend and understand what had happened, and the gravity of all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, now now I get it. Now I'm
Yeah.
more developed as a. I was still a child, but I was more developed. So yeah, yep.
And in a lot of ways, like you said, the closest sister was like 10 years, something like that.
Just about.
And then the other ones were just a little older than her.
They're a few years older than her. Yes.
How many sisters were there?
Well, there was 4 sisters all together, but the oldest sister, she died prior to me, of course, when she was 2 years old, and crib death.
A crib death.
Yeah,
What happened?
she just that syndrome, crib syndrome or whatever.
Oh, I know what that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that
Yeah,
before.
and back in them days, that was more easily to happen than it is today.
Yeah.
So they're more versed in that today than they were way back then. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in in my book Rat Bastards, I talk about her a little bit from what I known from my sisters, my mom, I should say, and she had dark hair, not red hair, because my father had dark hair, and I get the red hair from my mom, and she had blue eyes, so it was a pretty nice combination.
Do you think that was that something that, I mean, obviously that viscerally affects any parents, but is that something that maybe contributed to your dad falling victim to alcoholism?
I don't think so. I think it was just, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I hate to use this term, but we use it in Southie, and growing up in a dominant, in the biggest Irish enclave in Boston. We used to. You probably heard this before, but the Irish curse.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say other things for an Irish curse, but unfortunately, I don't have that problem. But that's besides the point. Unfortunately, I should say I don't have that problem. Sorry.
That was good. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
But that's I can't imagine that. I'm not a parent.
and
But
don't
you
ask
know,
my wife.
I
Thank
you know
you.
I
Thank you.
stayed looking
Yeah,
over
I
here
know.
while
I
that
know.
was
I
happening
know. I know.
for a good
Thank
reason.
you.
And Lori
Thank-
stayed on the phone.
Thank you for the respect.
You're welcome. But so that the oldest one is the one who died, and then there were 3 others.
Yes,
And do you have a relationship with all of them today?
I do not.
Any of them?
Unfortunately, no, I do not. One of them for a good reason. It was the middle sister, and the reason why is because when I was a kid, she was on the phone with my other sister, the youngest one, and it was my mother's birthday, and I was 15, 16 years of age, and I was running around the projects, wild, of course. No father at home, no stability. My mother worked all the time, and though she tried to be father and mother at the same time,
Can't do that.
yeah, it's really tough for my mom with me, because I was, like I said, a mistake, if you will, because it was such a difference. Did she expect to have a baby? That type of year difference and all that? No, of course not. Good old dad came home one night, and he got cozy with mom. So that shit happens, right?
Here you are.
And here I am. So, but that said, I don't have anything to do with her, is because, and I talk about it in my book Rat Bastards, about how she was on the phone and she was talking to my sister, and she asked me if I'd gotten a birthday present for my mom. I said I haven't yet, but I'm gonna go get one. It was that simple. And she started yelling at me when she was on the phone and all that, and screaming at me, and for no reason at all, because I hadn't had that present at that moment. We still have time. There's a few hours left in the day before we have dinner or a birthday cake for my mom. And so we ended up in a big argument. And I was a young kid, and needless to say, it wasn't right of me, but we were all hot-headed in my household. I think it's because we got that from my mom. My mom was a very hot-headed individual. My father, from what I was told from my sisters and my mom, that he was a very even-keel guy, a very level-headed guy. So yeah, I inherited that temper from my mom. So, and we all did. And my older sister was yelling at me and screaming at me. And at this time, she had 2 children of her own. So I was an uncle at such an early age, And they were young. They were very young at the time. And so we started in an argument. And she said, I lost it. I says, I'm going to tell you what. Don't come tonight to the house, because I live with my mom. I said, because it ain't going to be good. Don't come.
To your own mom's birthday dinner?
Yeah. As a young kid, hot-headed, was volatile household at times, very volatile. And I said to her, she said something to me, and she said, your mother never wanted you anyway. So with that said, instead of me wanting to beat her up with my hands, as I did when I was 5 years old, I went to the kitchen and I grabbed a knife. And I threatened her with a knife. I said, you see this knife? If you come, this is what's going to happen to you. I had my left hand on her shoulder when I did it, and I had the knife here. And I was only a kid, being hot-headed. I wasn't going to use it. I was threatening her with it.
You weren't going to use it?
No. But if I was going to use it, I would have used it, right? I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Am I going to disagree?
Well, no. Trust me, I'm not going to use a knife on you if you do. But
I got one under the table.
Thank you. But that's besides the point. So I threatened her with it. And her being so much older than she knew the legalities there. And she reached for the knife with her hand like this, where she had sliced herself on the hand.
Oh, she did it on purpose.
She tried to slice herself. She went like this for the knife to slice her hand, her palm. And I pulled the knife back, and I says, as bad as I am right now, I said, you're sicker than me. I said, you're sicker than me. I said, you actually wanted to slice yourself, so now you could say that I actually sliced you.
Oh, my God.
It was very calculating on her behalf. To her younger brother was 15 years of age.
I'd love to see this psychiatrist office.
So I leave the house. I throw the knife over the thing. I leave the house. My mom gets a call from her. She called the police. And she said that get this. Now it gets even worse. Talk about a rat bastard. My own blood, right? She calls the police and says that I threatened her and I put the knife to my baby niece.
Oh, no.
To her throat.
That's off limits. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she did. That's what she did. She fabricated and made the story up. No wonder I don't like rats, right? I mean, come on. Think about it.
It's in your blood.
Yeah. So I got arrested that night for assault and battery with a weapon. I was brought to a jail cell in Boston. And I never forget this. When I was on my way to the jail cell, I was with another guy that they picked up that was in handcuffs in the back seat of the police car. And it was a black guy. I'll never forget it. And they said, hey, there was a shooting that happened a few nights prior to that in the projects. And the cop says, hey, you know anything about this shooting? He asked me. And the black guy next to me nudges me, gives me a nudge with his elbow. In other words, don't tell him anything. Of course, I didn't know anything. And if I did, I wasn't going to tell him anything anyway. I knew better than that at that age. And I said, I have no idea what you're fucking talking about, I said to the guy. So I went to jail. I got bailed out.
Who bailed you out?
I had a friend of mine that came and bailed me out. My older friends came and bailed me out.
Good friend.
Yeah, yeah. And I went back to my mom's home. My mom knew the police were coming. So I kind of had a little disdain against my mom that she kind of like didn't forewarn me and threw me under the bus. But she did that, she said, because we had the conversation. And she did that because she knew I was into a lot of different things and trouble out in the street. And she figured maybe that would straighten me out.
Mm.
So I get the logic in that. And of course it didn't. But that said, so my sister brought me all the way to court, pressed charges, brought me all the way to court, had to go to trial.
You went to trial?
Had to go to trial.
You're 16, right?
Yes. Yep. Had to go to trial. So my younger sister got a hold of my niece at the time. And she said, I want to ask, while her mother went into the bathroom, she said, I got a question I want to ask you. Can you please tell Auntie the truth? She said, yes. She said, my nickname is Jay. So she said, did Uncle Jay put the knife to your throat? Did he really do that? And she said, no, Mommy's making me say that.
Oh. Did they get to, like, bring that into court as evidence?
My younger sister came into court and she stood up in the courtroom in the stand and she told the judge and the prosecution and my attorney, who sucked because I couldn't afford one, she told them and she said, I asked her outside and she said, Mommy's making me lie. Now my sister was taking me to court, was so mad. Oh, she went off a rocker. They didn't talk for years, by the way.
But they talk again after that?
After that, they did. They came back together again and talked. But yeah, I've never forgiven her for that.
And have you talked to her since then?
I've seen her, like, on my mom's funeral. I told my mom before my mom passed away. My mom asked me a question. She said, I know you don't like her, but she's still my daughter.
Mm.
And she says, I know you. Please don't ever hurt her. So my mom wasn't the smartest person in the world, but she was savvy in her ways. And I said, you have my word.
That's really heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to, like, put your childhood together. That's a lot to deal with.
So that said, I honored my mom, and I still honor her. When she passed away, I gave the eulogy in the mass. And I talked about how I was the mistake and all that and everything in the eulogy. And I put a little humor to it. And then I said, my mom said to me, you weren't. You were all a gift to me.
Wow.
Now, I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to say you were all a gift to me. But I did. I did it for my mom.
That's a really full circle moment.
Well, it's the honorable thing to do.
Yeah.
I gave my word. I'm an honorable person. I have integrity. Now, when it comes to integrity breaking the law and doing bad things in the street, no, that's, we all know that's not good. But the integrity of accepting full responsibility for the wrongs that you've done and paying your debt to society for as many years as I have, and it could have been even longer, that's the integrity, my friend, without putting it on someone else's shoulders, that burden, and having it out. Hey, I got an ace up my sleeve. What's that? I could rat on you guys and I can get out early. Or I only have to do a little bit of time. That's not integrity. That's selfishness.
So do you look at what you did to get into prison, like now, looking back on it? Obviously, there's things that drew you to the life. We're going to get more into that soon. But do you look at it as immoral and wrong, and therefore that was the balance? The balance was because you did something immoral and wrong, and because you were caught, you were given this time. Therefore, that's what you do.
Pay your debt to society.
Yeah.
It's that simple. There's no gray area.
I don't hear a lot of people talk like that in your position. You have a very interesting kind of 30,000-foot view of the world.
Well, I wish there were more men out there, more responsible people that took responsibility for their actions. As Whitey said, you know, it takes a strong person to reach inside themselves and say, I'm here because of me.
It's crazy that the guy who didn't live that still said something so heavy and true that you have lived and take as advice today, despite who he was saying that. It's a very strange dynamic.
I guess if there's anything as much disdain that I have now against Whitey Bulger, I guess those little things like that, those things I actually really appreciated. That's basically, I guess you can call it the silver lining in the dark cloud.
Yeah. What like as a kid growing up in Southie, running with some of the crews in the street, learning from some of the older kids, I guess, ending up learning from your boxing trainer, ended up, taking down trucks and stuff like that. Do you remember like when that omerta code, if you will, locked in on you that like, hey, I am now like you're conscious. You're like, I'm making some choices that are below the line of where the law is. Other people are making them with me. And I'm going to be responsible for my actions to the point that if I get caught, I'm never saying shit to anyone because we don't do that. Like, do you remember where that became a code in your head that you were going to live the rest of your life by?
Yes. That was a code that you were brought up in Southie to do. As Whitey Bulger's brother, Billy Bulger, who was a Senate for years, he was the Senate president of Massachusetts for years. He was more powerful than the governor.
Yeah.
He wrote a book, and in his book, he talks about how they were playing ball in the projects because they came from the projects too. Mm-hmm. I came from one project that was across the street from the other project. I came from Old Colony projects. They came from the Old Harbor projects. So that said, they were playing ball. They broke a window, and the kids ran off. He got caught, and they wanted to know who the other kids were. And he said in his book, you didn't do that.
It's just a known thing.
It's just a known thing.
Yeah.
It's something that you grew up in Southie with. And you know what? It's a good thing. No matter how many people want to look at it or whatever and say, well, that ain't a good thing. You should have done the honorable thing and told on those kids so they could get in trouble too. No, it ain't. It isn't. They got away, leave it at that. You got caught, you take your lumps and bumps, that's it. I mean, I remember kids going into the store and stealing gum or candy out of this local store. And maybe you got caught when they all ran out, but you got caught in the store. Did you tell on all those kids? No, absolutely not. So it's the same premise as you learned in the neighborhood as a kid, as you get in to the bigger stuff as a kid, if you will, an older kid, and getting into that life. It's the same premise. You never rat.
The stakes just get higher.
The stakes just get higher, yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
When was the first time you had said you went pro as a boxer in California when you were 18. First of all, what was that like living out in California? You'd never lived outside Boston before that, right?
I mean, I absolutely loved it because, Boston's a cold town, right? In the winter and everything. I mean, hello, and snow and everything else. Hello. I got to retire soon. Me and my wife, I got to retire. I got to be down in Florida for during the winters. I'll tell you.
I'm shocked you're not there yet.
Snowbirds. Next year we'll be there. But anyway.
Make sure this guy wears his SPF,
Yeah, thank you. Both of us. So that said, so I go out to California. I loved it. Oh, man. Palm trees and beach and water and sunshine. Who doesn't love that, right? So one day, I happen to be training and I'm running along the beach and I'm running in the sand and, working out. And I happen to look out. Now, I'm a city slicker, right? I mean, coming from the city, the projects, concrete, world, everything, right? So I look over in the water and I see these fins. Now, I'm only 18 years old, right? I look over and I see these fins in the water and the waves. I go, oh, shit. Right? I start, and there were people in the water. I start, get out of the water. I said, get out of the water. I said, there's sharks. I said, get out of the water. So my trainer at the time out there was Tony Cardinelli's lawyer, my boxing, my attorney. It was his brother, actually.
Come on.
Yeah. He says to me, what are you doing? I said, there's sharks. He goes, they're not sharks, they're dolphins. I went, oh. I said, well, what do I know? I'm from the city. I said, I don't know shit like that.
Dolphins might try to fuck you to death.
Oh yeah, I heard they're rapists.
Oh yeah.
I heard about this. I heard all about it, and I went online and looked up about it, and I saw some crazy shit. So I got married a little over 2.5 years ago in Hawaii, and I knew that the dolphins were in Hawaii. So I said, I better bring a knife and have a diver's knife on the side of my ankle. I said, in case these dolphins come, I said, I can,
I don't know what they would do, but I've seen videos before where a dolphin trainer woman is like sitting on top of the dock, and a dolphin just comes up like full blown, like.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to get down.
Oh, yeah. I saw videos myself. Forget about it. Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's not good stuff. I know one day I wouldn't want any of them coming up to me doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then they even ejaculate all over you.
That was more than I was aware of.
Well, I'm just letting you know. I've seen the videos.
Oof.
Yeah. And they are not discriminating either. They're very bisexual.
Oh, they're bisexual.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
So don't turn around.
They're men or women. Doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, they'll have fun with your leg or whatever you get in the water there. So
I remember the first time I googled dolphin dick. I wish I never did that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a horse cock of the water.
Oh yeah, bad stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that. Like I said, I don't want anything like that near me.
That dolphin didn't violate you, right?
No.
You can tell me.
No,
it's just you and me.
No.
It would explain all that.
No, of course. No.
I got into cocaine because the dolphin fucked me. That'd be a hell of a story. But so you're out there in California, you're having a good time. Did you start to, before you get the, I guess, temptation to go back into coke, were there like distractions now for the first time too? Because like you said, it's a nice place. It's not the projects.
There
where you
wasn't.
were
No, I was
from.
totally involved
were
in the
involved.
boxing. Yeah, I was totally focused on boxing, and yeah, we were training in different gyms and stuff like that, and I was doing very well, training and sparring with a lot of good professional fighters at the time, prior to me being professional, and I was doing very well with them. But that said, I I I came back to Boston after that, and Tony Cardinelli set me up with uh, he was very good friends with the Duvers, Lou Duver from back in the day that had all the fighters of Vander Holyfield, Vinny Pazienza, all those Bumpus, Pernell Whitaker. He had all those guys, Lou Duver. And so he called Lou Duver and he says, I got an Irish kid here. I guarantee you'll love this guy. And Lou Duver says, good. We're at Boston. Good. Send him down with Vinny Pazienza to Rhode Island and get him some sparring with Vinny Pazienza. So sure enough, I went down to Pazienza gym and I started training with Pazienza and sparring him. And I did very well against Vinny. No matter if I did well against Vinny in the gym or not, you just realize he was a world champ, and I wasn't the world champ. But whether I got the best of him here or there in training, so be it. But he was the world champ. I wasn't. He was a 5-time world champion at that.
But it sounds like you're still really into boxing at
I
this
was.
point. Like,
I
totally
was
focused on it.
Yeah, I was. So I was at that time. I was back into selling drugs.
Oh, so you did do that too?
Yep. I came back selling drugs, and I supported myself as a fighter doing that.
Got it.
So I didn't have to worry about a 9-to-5 job where I was too tired to go to the gym and train. I had plenty of rest, plenty of time to do whatever I wanted, and I had the money to support that and to support myself in doing that.
Selling all cocaine?
Oh, yep, cocaine, sometimes marijuana. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was that just you, like, on your own as kind of a solo dealer, or
No, I
were
was
you
getting
set up through somebody?
I was getting the drugs from Whitey's guys.
Okay.
Yeah, his crew. I was getting drugs from his crew because I knew all of them.
How'd you get hooked up with them initially? When was that?
A lot of them were guys from the gym that were associated with. Yeah, they were a lot. Some of them were fighters, boxers, I should say, and they were with Whitey. And then, of course, all those guys knew each other, and that's how I end up getting to know them and to become friends with them.
So they're giving you the stuff. It's not like you're going down to Miami yet at this
Yeah,
point.
no,
and
I was grabbing ounces of cocaine at the time, and I was selling grams at night in the clubs and the bars and everything in Southie.
Pretty good business.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was great for me because I could support myself in the boxing part of it, and so I came back and I supported myself. I went down. I was training with Vinny Pazienza, and we went down to New Jersey, Passaic. Here.
Oh, right over here. Yeah.
And Lou Duver had his gym over there with all of the champions. And
he did?
Yeah.
What was that gym called?
I don't know. It's been so long.
Okay.
And so it was me, Vinny Pazienza, and Rocky Lockridge. Rocky Lockridge was a champ at the time. And we did round robins. And it was time for Vinny to spar with Rocky Lockridge. And I knew one thing about Rocky Lockridge. He would lull you. He would tap you to the body, and then he'd throw the overhand right, just lull you. So you get a little lulled, get a little lackadaisical, so he could sneak that right hand over the top on you. That was his famous punch. I knew that about him. So I made sure that didn't happen to me. I can guarantee that. Well, he did it to Vinny, and he cut Vinny.
Oh, shit.
He split him over his eye. So now, mind you, I didn't sign with Lou Duver yet. Lou Duver was looking to sign me, and I didn't have a contract with him. I'm still a young kid. Now I'm selling drugs, so I'm doing all right. I got money in my pocket. And so I'm down there in New Jersey, sparring. Vinny gets cut. We go back to the whole motel that we were staying at. Lou Duva was paying the cost for that. And so I stayed back with Vinny at the hotel and the pool. Lou Duva comes over. He says, where the hell you been? You're supposed to be in the fucking gym training. I went, excuse me? One day I didn't like is anybody coming at me aggressively. That's one day I don't like. Or even like, being aggressive and swearing at me, which he did at that time. So I said, yeah. He left. I packed my shit and went back to Boston.
Mm. And that's the break-off point.
That was the break-off point. I had a few pro fights in Boston after that. I did fight in Atlantic City with Vinny Paz on the same card. Mm. I won that fight. But I got away from Lou.
Is the money starting to grow and get better though at this point?
I started earning more money then. I started concentrating more on the drugs after that. And I was getting it from Whitey's guys. And then all of a sudden I said, hey, I want to get my own connect. I want to do my own thing, my own connect. I had a chance to do that. There was a woman that was in Florida, in the Keys, and she had a guide to get kilos of cocaine. At that time, it cost me $20,000 to get down there and do that. So I went down. She introduced me to the guy for the kilo, and he said, I want the money. I said, yeah, you'll get the money when you give me the product. I said, well, I look like I was born yesterday, pal. He goes, well, if you don't give me the money, then I know you're not a cop. I said, well, I'm not a cop, that's for sure. And whether I might look like a clean-cut young kid, he says, I'm not. But he goes, well, that's the only way you're going to get the kilo, the drug. I said, I turned to the girl and I said, are you covering this? If he don't come back, are you giving me my $20,000 back? Are you going to cover this? She said, yes. I said, then here's the money. So I'm standing there waiting a few hours. All of a sudden, she lived in like a trailer, if you will, on the water, where there was coral reefs and stuff down there. Mm. I remember the barracudas going by real quick, standing on the edge, I was like, whoa, I know I won't get in that water, So all of a sudden I see a helicopter go by. I don't think anything of it, just a helicopter going by, right? So I'm waiting for this guy to come back. He doesn't come back. I said, oh man, I'm like out of my tits right now, right? This guy just robbed me for $20,000. He didn't really rob me because she's got to pay it. He giving me my money. You're giving me my money. And I told her that. He ain't coming back. You're giving me my money. I can guarantee you that. You owe me 20 grand. So I go to sleep. I lie my head down. I go to sleep. Midnight. It's midnight. I get woken up. The guy's back with the kilo. I wanted to hug this guy. I mean, really, I wanted to hug him. Seriously. I was like, holy shit. Thanks for coming back. I thought I lost my 20 grand, right? So I open it up. I look at it. It was crystal beautiful, like the real deal. I was like, oh, nice. The next day, I get the kilo. I break it up. It was 2 biscuits. I put one in the front of me and one in my back. And I took one of those sweat belts.
Yeah.
And I strapped it to me and tied it into me. And I wore a baggy shirt, like a Hawaiian shirt, if you will. And I proceeded to go to Miami Airport. And at that time, you didn't have to worry about,
Yeah.
the scanners and scanning if you get drugs or looking at your crotch or something like that or whatever. You didn't worry about all that stuff. Then we didn't have it because it was before 9/11.
And I also heard their security wasn't too good even by those days' standards.
Yeah, most likely, yes.
Yeah.
I would say so because eventually one of my guys that came with me down there, came to work with me after that, he put one through believe it or not, into the X-ray machine, and they never spotted it.
Oh my God.
Of course, I said, you're nuts if you do that. I told him, you're fucking crazy. I said, don't do it. Oh, no, we can do it. We can do it. So
They'll never know.
He wrapped it in towels and stuff, and he put the bag in. I walked away from him. I'll be honest with you. I walked away. He says, you want to do something stupid like that? Go ahead. I'm walking away on that. It went through unnoticed. Could you believe that? I couldn't believe it at
An
the time.
X-ray machine, that's almost hard to believe, even back then.
It went through.
Yeah.
The person looking at the X-ray machine must have been looking too good at all. Let me tell you that. Maybe they were only trained. They didn't train for drugs or anything.
I guess not.
They were trained maybe for just weapons and stuff like guns. If you see a gun, pull this bag over or something. But no, it went through. I said to him, "You'll never do that again, ever. I don't give a shit. You ain't ever doing that again." And never did he ever do that, or I do that again.
If you had told me that, I wouldn't have done it again either. Just to let you know.
Yeah, I thought it was.
You have a real look about you.
Yeah, it was. Let me tell you something. It was suicide.
Yeah.
Suicide.
Lou told me that one of the things he used to do was he would just go to the airport with checked bags that they weren't putting through X-ray machines, and you just check the bag, drop it off. They'd be filled to the brims with Coke, and it would arrive on a flight. 2 Italian guys would pick it up, and that's what he did.
Yeah,
that's how easy it was.
Yeah, it was. The security was really easy at that time.
God, I love Miami.
Yeah, not anymore though. You can't do that anymore, my man. Oh yeah, you can't.
Those were the good old days.
Oh yeah, those were the great old days. Let me tell you that. So yeah, I graduated from strapping it to myself and flying it back to Boston and Southie and selling that, and I started making a lot more money, and I had a very, very, very good ounce business. Not even. I got away from, I graduated and got away from grams and went to the ounces. And one day I had a brand new BMW. I had a brand new Rolex on.
So you're wearing bling.
I was wearing a little bling. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I only was getting a little bit from Whitey's guys. So they drove by one day in the neighborhood. They saw me getting into my brand new Beamer. And the Rolex on, and the boss of the crew, he looks, and his last name is the same as mine, Shea, no relation. His name was Billy Shea. And he stops. He goes, "Hey, Red!" And now I know these guys so well because they came down and seen me fight in Atlantic City. And he said to me, "If you win," because he had a gold bracelet that he had made, and the gold bracelet was strands of gold rope.
Yeah.
And then in the middle was his name, but he had diamonds in his.
Ooh.
So it said, "Billy," he says, "I'll get you, if you win this fight, I'll get you one of these bracelets." He said, "Without the diamonds," because it was too expensive for him. So of course I'm gonna win this fight. If I have to bite this guy's ear off like Mike Tyson did to Holyfield, I will. So anyhow, I win the fight, and he got me the gift. So that's how well I knew these guys. And
but they didn't like you driving the Beamer.
They didn't
care?
dislike me driving the Beamer, but they wanted to know, well, "Hey, Red, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing good. How are you?" Now, it's a no-no what I was doing because I was on their turf, right?
Yeah.
I should be buying from them, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're buying from Miami.
I got my own connect. I'm making more money. You guys,
fuck the middleman.
Yeah, I don't give fucking right. Smart businessman, right?
Yeah. Whitey who?
Exactly. So he said, "Hey, Red, you got a Beamer, brand new Beamer. You got oh man, you're doing pretty well now, huh?" I said, "Yeah." It's funny, Red, you don't get that much from us no more. I said, yeah. No, I don't. No, I don't. I was straight up about it. He said, well, why is that? Because I have my own connect. What? You get your own connection that you get? Really? Well, tell me about this connection. What do you want to know? Well, how much can you get? What do you get? I said, I get kilos. Kilos? Really? At what cost? I said, well, depending on the time of the month, it fluctuates. I said, but I can get them for $18,000 a whack at that time, or maybe a little cheaper. He said, really? The eyes open up. Now, I didn't know this, but their connection that they had wasn't very good. So it was struggling. So the boss, Billy Shea, being an intelligent guy, he was educated in prison. He got a college degree in prison. He says, I'll tell you what, Red, why don't you join forces with us? And that was them bringing me into the crew now.
You're like, what, 20, 21?
I was like, I was 19.
Wow.
I was 19, 20, 19, yeah, right in that area. And I said, come with you? Yeah. You could supply us. You could be the main supply. I went, is right. Oh, boy. Here's a great money opportunity for me. Yes, sirree. Now, mind you, what I was doing wasn't right on their turf. They could have said, there's a problem for you.
Yeah.
Whitey could have said, there is a fucking problem for him. Whether Whitey liked me or not, I was still stomping on and not giving any money.
Did you know Whitey personally at this point?
Yes.
All right, let's take a back step for 1 second. When did you first meet him?
I met him when I was 16 years of age. Where? In Southie, on the street. Somebody introduced me to him and said, this is Jim Bulger. They didn't use Whitey because they didn't like to be called Whitey. And
he's just on the street, just like that.
Yeah.
You're a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah. He wanted, because I was up and coming fighter at the time too, or even at that age. So he wanted to introduce me to him.
Scouting you.
Yeah, exactly. And and also he grew up with a family member of mine, as I said earlier. Yep. Robin Trucks. And we talked about him. Yeah.
Did you know what he was at that point?
I had an idea, yeah, that he was Whitey Bulger. His name was well known. Yeah.
What did you think of him when you first met him?
I was a bit, as a young kid like that, I was a bit in awe because I knew how much power he wielded and what respect he wielded. Yeah, it was pretty impressive for a young guy.
What was he like?
Very charismatic in his ways and when he spoke and stuff like that. And you knew that this was a guy that had intelligence, but also you seen the ruthlessness in him, and he was no joke.
Right away, you could see that.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%.
So you meet him on the street. Do you have, between then and when these guys pull up on you, when Shea pulls up on you when you're 19, did you have any other interactions with him?
Yes.
In what context?
It wasn't in a very good context, to be honest with you. I stood up to Whitey Bulger.
You stood up to him?
I stood up to him. Actually, twice, if you think about it.
Why? Because your girlfriend drinks that on her period?
No. What happened was I had threatened a guy in the bar that he was associated with, Triple O's. And this guy was going near a girl that I was dating at the time. And I had a few drinks in me. No excuse. I was a young kid. I was able to get in because even underage, I was still able to get in.
I feel like they don't card in Southie.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They do?
But yeah, they did. But I was able to get in because of
Yeah.
all the people that I knew was
Yeah.
connected to. And so I happened to threaten a kid, and I was, I even had a gun on me at the time. And Whitey got wind of it. And somebody said, well, he's friends with Whitey, I don't give a fuck. Typical me, right? So that got back to him.
Mm.
I'm standing with one of the guys who went down in the case with us, who was a drug dealer also, who I surpassed him in my time and I was with my boxing trainer too. We're on Broadway, and Whitey Bulger, Stevie Flemmi,
his number two,
and Kevin Weekes. They come and they see me, and I just got done. It's a summer evening. I just got done running. I did like a 6-7 mile run, and it was in the evening, and I was on Broadway with no shirt on, sweating, and
it's all three of them.
Yeah, all three of them.
Like the Holy Trinity.
Yes. And they pulled the car over, and Stevie stayed in the car, slouched down as he usually did in the passenger seat, just looking. And Whitey got out of the car with Kevin Weekes. And I was standing with Paul Moore and Tommy Connors, my trainer. And he says, hey, Red, come over here. I want to talk to you. So, because Paul had even said to me, because he was associated, he said, I don't know what he had just got done telling me, I don't know what you did, but fucking Whitey's looking for you, man. I don't know what you did. I said, whatever, I don't give a fuck. What do you think, I'm fucking afraid of him?
In your mind, though, you gotta be.
I was a little concerned.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned. So he pulls me to the side, him and Kevin, and Paul Moore says to my trainer, God, I hope he doesn't do anything. I hope he doesn't do anything. I hope. So my trainer says, take it easy, Paul. He's crazy, but he's not stupid. Meaning me.
Mm.
They figured I was going to whack Whitey, give him a fucking right hand, left hook, I mean, I would have if I had to. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I know you would now.
Yeah, well, definitely now, but that's besides the point. Well, he's dead now. He got murdered anyway, but that's besides the point. As a rat bastard inside. But that said, I get pulled over. He pulls me over to the side and he says, listen, you threaten a guy and you threaten him and my name was brought up and you said you didn't give a fuck about me. And he says, do you got a fucking army? I'm asking you a question. Do you have an army? I said, no, I do not have an army. I said, I didn't threaten you. I wasn't threatening you. Your name was brought up and used against me. So he looked at me. I said, and one thing my mother always taught me, no matter what, always stand on your own 2 feet, no matter what. And don't let anybody bull you. And that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. He fucking loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He looked at me and he says, if that ever happens again, that someone's going to threaten you or tries to use me against you, you tell them you're my fucking friend.
Whoa.
You're my fucking friend. Do you understand that? I went, yeah. I walked out of it again, shining colors. I walked away and Paul Moore, and I went over to Paul Moore after that, and then I goes, why are you so nervous? I said, I started laughing at him.
So, I mean, he meets you as a fighter. He meets you as a guy who's standing on business. And now, I guess the next time is when these guys approach you. right? And now you're a businessman too.
So
Just meeting you in every context.
his crew approached me. I became part of the crew. And Billy Shea says, listen, I got a deal. You supply us. You supply our people. You go down, you get the kilos from Miami. Bring it back. We'll give you the money to do it. And I actually helped break it up, the cocaine, because I was good at that. They weren't that good at it. That's besides the point. I used to break it up and, I'd spray. I had a bottle of gin. And did you know anything about this?
No.
So if you want to cut cocaine up, for grams and stuff like that.
This is for educational purposes, not for criminal enterprise purposes. We're following all of YouTube's community guidelines. Please continue.
Thank you. So if you want to cut cocaine, so it's not as potent, if you will, and you can stretch it out to make a little more money, you take gin in a bottle, gin that you drink.
Like Tanqueray.
Yep. Because it has no real smell to it really at all.
Yeah.
And you take it, and that gin acts as a bonding agent.
Really?
Yes.
I'm a big gin guy.
So you break down the cocaine,
Yeah.
and you put it in like not powdered form, but close to powdered form, and you spray it lightly. Spray it lightly with the gin, right, out of a spray bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take that cocaine, and you put it into a plastic bag, a zip bag, like a solid one, and then you take it and you put it into a vise, and you let it sit there for a while, or into a mold. We had molds.
A mold.
A mold.
I know a vise. What's
a metal mold that you make a mold. So you fill that mold up with the cocaine, and then you have two pieces of metal that will squeeze it together, and then you make a brick out of it. And
Pat, you taking notes, bro? We need money around here.
And that the gin acts as a bonding agent. So you never taste it, you never smell it. But you got to spray it really lightly. Not that I'm here to teach anybody to do that.
Right. Again, this is educational purposes. Don't do this.
I'm just talking about the history of what I did.
Yes.
And so I was good at that. I was kind of like a chemist, if you will.
A real Walter White.
Yeah, plenty of white. So that said, I used to break it up and stuff like that. So Billy Shea says, I'm going to tell you what. You come with us. You get the drugs. You're our main connect. We chop up the money every couple of weeks. Beautiful. Big money. Beautiful.
What are we talking? Big money.
I was making a few, 150,000, 200,000 every couple of weeks.
That's a lot of. That's a lot of money now.
Just on that end of it, with them.
There was another end of it.
Yeah, he told me I didn't have to add my customers in.
Oh, so you got the double dip.
I got the double dip, but hold on.
Okay, there's more.
There was a catch. The boss, Billy Shea, comes to me and says, hey, some of the cocaine that you're getting, you're bringing up, take some of that out and sell it to your customers and give me a piece of that. I went, well, I said, what about the other guys? If they find out about that, they might be upset about that, right?
Mm.
I said, and second of all, you're going to weaken the product if I do that, because that means I have to add more cut to the Coke.
Mm.
He said, I don't care. I'm the boss. You do what I say. You understand that? Fine. You're the boss. I say something like, my boxing trainer at the time, Tommy, I told him the situation. I said, I didn't like that. He goes, yeah, if something happens, he's going to throw you under the bus. I said, I know that. That's why I'm mentioning it to you. He said, well, who's the boss, you or him? I said, he is. Well, if anybody asks you about anything, go talk to the boss about it. If you feel that the product isn't what it should be, go talk to the boss. Don't talk to me. Why are you coming to me? I'm not the boss.
Good advice.
So, holy behold, Time goes by. The other guys in the crew come to me. They said, hey, Red, it's a problem. Yeah, what's the problem? Well, the product isn't that good. People are complaining. Yeah? Why are you coming to me? Were you doing something wrong? I went, nope. I said, I'm only doing what the boss told me to do. Go talk to the boss. So they didn't go back to the boss. They went to Whitey.
Oh.
The big boss. And Whitey said to them, I know both characters. He said, that kid's too loyal. Meaning me.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be doing something if he wasn't told to do it.
Right.
He wouldn't. I know him. And I know the other guy, how cute he is and how deceptive he could be. So I get wind of it that they're calling. Billy Shea was down in Florida because he had homes down there and he had a real estate that he did down there. He was down in Florida and he got the call to come back to Boston that Whitey wanted to see him. And if you get a call that Whitey wants to see you, that's not good. There's a problem.
Do you even go to that? I feel like you just get the passport, throw on the mask, get on some fucking plane, go to another country and call it a day.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for him, I said to myself when I heard that he was being called back up and Whitey was going to have a conversation with him, I said, well, I guess I'm going to leave town for the weekend. You can guarantee that. So I did. I would book the plane flight to go to Montreal, Canada. It was not only going on a flight out of state, I was going out of the fucking country for that one.
Yeah.
So, holy behold, I'm going to my plane in the terminal. Who's walking towards me? But Billy Shea, who just got off the plane from Florida.
Mm.
He looked at me stunned. Red, nervous wreck. Red, Whitey's calling me back. Do you know anything about it?
Nope.
I said, I have no idea. Really? He's calling you? Really? He's calling you back? Oh, yeah? I was like, yeah, asshole. You try to throw me under the bus. Guess what? It ain't working. See you later. So we had to answer those questions. And Whitey wasn't happy. Whitey told him, listen, the only reason I'm not killing you is because you made me a lot of money in my day. Go back to Florida and stay there.
You're out.
You're out.
So you never saw Billy again?
I did not, but someone else did. My boxing trainer, he goes, that fucking Red, he could have had me killed. Do you know the shit that he does and all that? He could have had me killed. I could have been dead. He didn't tell me. I seen him in the airport. Yeah. Well, dude, you were trying to get me killed.
Yeah. But that's that world, though. You sign up for that, no?
100%. So, anyhow, after all of that, as I said earlier, the DEA is on us. There's all kinds of surveillance. And
how many years into, like, from the conversation at 19 to where we are now? Are you 2, 3 years
I'm like
in?
3 years in.
Okay, so you're still young as fuck.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So all of a sudden I get the call, come down to one of the store and say, want to show me something? Sure. I get down in the basement and that's when the Uzis hit me.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yep.
And that's when I became the main boss after that, running the whole organization.
Now, you had said earlier, I didn't want to go down the tangent, though, but now would be a good time. On the history front of this stuff, you had said the Winter Hill Gang wasn't like the main thing. That wasn't what you were doing. Why do we always refer, like in pop culture, to Whitey as like the head of the Winter Hill Gang?
He was not the head of the Winter Hill Gang. Howie Winters was. A guy named Howie Winters. He was not the head guy. After Howie, he ratted on Howie Winters, by the way, him and Stevie Flemmi, and Howie Winters went away for horse racing and fixing and all that. They were the ones that ratted on him, his own people. Right. But that said, that whole group fractioned after that.
Right.
And that's
what years are we talking?
Oh, Jesus.
70s maybe?
70s, yeah. But prior to me, I was only a baby then.
So if I could draw a parallel here, it's almost similar to like if you were in the 1970s, not that they did this, but referring to the Genovese family as like the Luciano family still. Right? Lucky had been gone for a long time. It would be like wrong to kind of say it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So everybody thinks, oh, he's a part of the Winter Hill Gang, and they always blame me for being a part of. I was never with the Winter Hill Gang. I was with the Irish mob with Whitey Bulger. That was it.
And he ran it.
And he ran
was the
it.
head of the Irish mob.
He was the head of the Irish mob.
Did you guys have a lot of interaction with the Patriarca family and the Italians up there? Is that who it is? The Patriarca family?
They were out of Rhode Island.
They're out of Rhode Island.
But
who's the Boston family?
The Angelos.
Angelos. Did you have like interactions with them as far as like sharing territory?
I did not have interaction with them at that time at all. But Whitey and Stevie did.
Okay.
And Whitey and Stevie were giving information to the crooked John Connolly FBI agent against them.
I love that every time you make sure you say crooked. That's
thank you, because
you got to brand them.
Yeah, well, it's the truth.
Yeah.
So that said, they were giving information on helping out the FBI against them, which was basically their competition in some ways, if you will.
So is the FBI? Remember, I used to look into this whole thing back after he got caught and stuff like that, and you know the Departed had been out. Like I looked at this case so much, but some of the details I forget. Did the FBI initially set up the Whitey Bulger thing strictly to go after the Italians, or was it more than that?
Yeah, pretty much. You're right, because John Connolly was the one who was facilitated with Whitey and John Connolly, because John Connolly came from the same projects as Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
And Whitey, supposedly, when John was a young kid, Whitey protected him a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that whole relationship was facilitated in that sense. That way, John Connolly could look like, you know, the greatest FBI agent that there ever was. I took down the Italian mob in Boston, and that's what he used Stevie and Whitey for.
Okay.
But yeah, of course. But yeah, so on court tapes, Whitey and Stevie definitely had dealings with them, and on court tapes at the time. You had Jerry and Julian saying, Whitey and Stevie, they'll kill anybody for us. So they did work, their own work.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and again, you guys don't know any of this. This comes out all way later, as far as you know. Whitey Bulger's the head of the
nobody
Irish
knew
mob.
anything.
Right. Now, you're pulled into the Irish mob as, a drug trafficker, but I don't want to get like sappy with this, but like, does it start to become like a brotherhood, like you hear about with the Italians, where suddenly like you're a part of this thing that's bigger than you, or are you still just kind of like day to day in the game of like, hey, I'm great at fucking dealing cocaine, and now I just do it for these guys?
No, you're absolutely correct there. I've had people come to me and say, hey, I got a problem here. Kids in the neighborhood, they're hanging on my corner and they're making too much noise. Can you do me a favor? Could you get down and talk to these people and stuff like that? And I'd say, absolutely. And I'd get down, I'd drive by and I'd say, hey, did you give him the thumb, like beat it. Do me a favor, beat it, fellas. Don't be hanging around here. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, Red. Because they knew. Everybody knew.
So you felt a sense of power.
Oh, absolutely.
What was that like? You're young.
At that age, yeah. I mean, all the guys that I looked up to that were like my bit older brothers or father figures, I surpassed them, all those guys. And I became their boss.
Did you get off on that a little bit?
No, I didn't get off on it. I just, I think it was like for a young kid that came from the projects that didn't have anything, that all he knew was boxing, if you will, in the streets. It was a sense of, believe it or not, because it was a business, it was a sense of accomplishment that these guys were here, but I was way down here, and I surpassed them.
Yeah.
So it was a sense of accomplishment and success and dealing with a business, if you will, because it really ran like a business. So I felt a little definitely accomplishment with that. I didn't get off on it, but I was proud of that. I was proud of it, whether it was illegal or not. I still was successful, and I was proud of that.
Did you ever get into drugs too yourself, or were you just strictly dealing?
Let me get a little water here.
Sure. Take your time.
So I was never into drugs, but I did try it. I did experience it. And I had a really, 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 really bad experience with it. It was my Coke at the time. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to try it. So I tried it. Whoa, I like this. Hey, this is nice. Nice high running around. And by the way, when I had it, I didn't have cut stuff. I had the pure
the
shit.
good stuff. Yeah.
I had the pure,
No gin.
Yeah, no gin. Exactly. So that said, I had an ounce. I started off on an ounce of cocaine, of pure shit. And I went, excuse me?
That'll do it.
Yeah. And I went out with my friends, and we were all, snorting and running around and having fun. And this is my first time ever really using cocaine at all. At all. Okay? These guys were used to cocaine, not me. I was like, it was great in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, this high, I needed to keep giving myself it because the high was going down. And then all of a sudden, I started getting crazy paranoid. And I just couldn't come out of it. I was looking around, my eyes were bugging. And I remember going into a Chinese restaurant with them, and they wanted to eat. I couldn't eat. I don't know how these guys do it, right? Finally, they brought me back to an apartment, and they gave me NyQuil. NyQuil to come down, to go to sleep.
God.
So I'm drinking almost a whole bottle of NyQuil, overdosing on NyQuil to go to sleep and calm down. It finally worked eventually, believe it or not. The next day I wake up, and I had my trainer, Tommy Connors, he knew, I told him, oh yeah, I had a Coke, I did this, oh man. He went to my buddy, and because he trained with a fighter too, and he said to him, don't ever do that again with him. He goes, yeah, he can't handle it.
Yeah.
He cannot handle it, my buddy says to my trainer. My trainer goes, well, that's a good fucking thing, isn't it, that he can't handle it? And that was the end of cocaine. Ever trying cocaine ever again for me, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And it was a great lesson learned. I stayed away from using it, and I just concentrated on making money and, trying to get as much money and have something for myself, a better life, whatever you want to call it, getting out of the projects.
Were you living in a really nice apartment at this point too? You get a nice place for yourself?
I did. Yeah, I did. Matter of fact, I drove by my old place the other day where they indicted me and got arrested and all that stuff. And it was a place called Thomas Park, and they have a monument there, and it overlooks.
For you?
No, not for me. It was back in the George Washington days because the history of Boston is so vast.
Oh yeah. And
it was a hill called the Heights, and it has a monument there. And George Washington set up soldiers back then, okay? But he didn't have that many soldiers, so he set up props, dummies that look like soldiers.
Wait, I don't even know this.
Yes.
I love the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
This is new.
So now when the British came into the harbor in Southie, they looked up with the spyware, and they looked and they seen all these soldiers on top of the hills with cannons and everything else.
They've a whole cavalry.
So they took their boats and they dispersed the area. They said, if we get any closer, they're gonna hit us hard. We gotta get out of here. Look at the troops up there. Meanwhile, there wasn't that many men. He just made props and dummies.
Amazing.
He okey-doked them.
I thought that was just Mel Gibson and the Patriot doing that shit.
No. Nope.
Old GW was inventing it.
GW did it. That was the original G.
I still think you need a monument next to his, though. You know, your history is important, too.
Well, I don't know about that. There might be a lot of dogs pissing on it, maybe.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this whole time, like you had mentioned earlier, at this point you didn't talk with your middle sister, but the rest of the family, like you had a relationship with your mom, and I assume at the time your other two sisters. What did they know what you were doing, and if so, what did they think of it?
They didn't know exactly what I was doing, but they knew I was doing something, and they, hey, word gets around. I mean, if more than one person knows your business, everybody knows it. So, yeah, they knew I wasn't up to. They knew I was up to no good, and including my mom. I wanted to buy her a home and everything else. She wouldn't take it because she said no. She says, I know that money's not good money, and I'm not going to do that. So I just gave her as much as I could at times, and whenever she needed money, hey, Ma, here's this, here's that, whatever you need.
She never pulled you aside, though?
Oh, she did. She said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, I know it's not good. Oh, I'm managing bars, Ma. I'm doing real estate, Ma. I tell her anything, throw anything at her, if you will.
Oh,
and she knew I was lying to her. Your mother knows her child.
Yeah.
Well, you know that.
Yeah. At what point did you not have a relationship with your other sisters?
Just growing up eventually, I mean, and then sometimes they didn't talk to each other or whatever, and just, I don't know, it's just dysfunctional, and we grew up that way, unfortunately, and it's sad, you know? It's sad.
And even today, though, it's still that way.
Yeah. Yep. Even today.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I hope that
even though
change.
my youngest sister was at our wedding and stuff like that in Hawaii.
All right, that's a start.
Yeah,
that's positive.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 All right, so there's a little bit there.
A little bit.
You gotta have some glimmers of hope.
A little bit.
All right. Okay. But during this time, as you're
the door's always open for her.
Good. That's a good way to be. During this time, though, as you're getting all this power, what is you mentioned you got to know Whitey a little bit in these encounters as you're going along the way, but now you're in the inner sanctum and you're bringing in a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
For him. Are you spending a lot of time with him personally?
No. He had the myth of being no drugs. Whitey Bulger, I don't sell drugs. I don't. That was a myth.
Don't they all?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my relationship with him I'd meet him in the evening. Sometimes during the day, I'd go to the local base, if you will, liquor store, Rotary store, and all that. And I'd come in or go in. Whitey didn't come out till late afternoon anyway on his schedule. But I would meet him a lot at night. Castle Island, where you wouldn't be detected. Right. Columbus Park, which was across the street, there was a like a bathhouse, if you will, and basketball courts. I'd meet him behind there because I'd park my car in the O'Colony projects, and then I'd weave my way through the projects and run across, and then I'd meet him there because there was surveillance on us, and and he definitely didn't want to. He wanted to be isolated from that. So most of the time we met in secret. I should say, out of surveillance of the law. I think a couple of times from my case, I remember reading about how they actually had us, surveillanced us at night because I had an issue with a kid, and the kid's father worked for him at one time, and he knew the kid since he was a kid, and this kid had shot a friend of mine, and he was sitting near my house that I had, one of my places I had, which was near the base of operations. And I seen him in the car in the dark, just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm trying to put two and two together. I guess, is that son of a bitch waiting for me? I see him, right? I'm doing, So I was with a guy, Paul Moore, and I says, I think that son of a bitch is waiting for me. I said, oh, I'll take good care of him. So Paul Moore says, hey, do you need me with you? You want me to help you? I said, no, just go on your way. I don't need you helping me with anything. He ran down to the liquor store with base operation to tell Whitey. He goes, Red's ready to do something wrong to that kid over there. Who? He tells him. His nickname was Black Man. So he said, oh, Black Man. Okay. He goes, really? I go out afterwards to the back way because it was near the projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to come around the back way on him. And he was gone.
Oh.
I said, where'd the son of a gun go? So I got my vehicle and I started driving around Southie looking for him. All of a sudden, here comes Kevin Weekes. Red, I heard what happened. Whitey's got him now in the car. Yeah. So I said, okay. He said, you got a weapon on you? I said, of course I got a weapon. He said, could you leave it behind, please? Yeah, all right. I left the gun behind, but I didn't leave my knife behind. I didn't tell him about the knife. So we get there, and it was in the evening, in the night, and he had the kid in the car, in the front passenger seat. And Whitey didn't let anybody sit behind him in the car, ever. He let Kevin Weekes sit behind him. But he would never, I'll tell you, he didn't never let me sit behind him.
Mm.
He just didn't, I always had to sit if I was in the car, I had to sit in the back where he could see over his shoulder on me and watch me in the mirror. I don't know why. I mean, who knows?
Paranoia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he did say that I reminded him of a lot of himself when he was a kid. You know? So he got the kid in the car. The kid's explaining himself. He goes, if I was waiting for you, you'd know about it. I said, okay, here we go. We got a tough guy in front of us. I said, this ain't going to go good. So he's going on and on and on. He thinks everything's like he's a tough guy. Everything's going to be all right because, Uncle Jim, Whitey, is going to, he's with me, So when he said that to me, if I was waiting for you, you'd know about it. I patted him on the back of his shoulder from the back seat. I said, I guess we're done here, aren't we then? Whitey's fucking head snapped back at me and looks at me. We looked at each other in the eyes, glared at each other in the eyes. And he turned and he viciously, verbal assault on this kid. I'll blow your fucking brains out myself. Get the fuck out of there. This is my man. This is my guy. Bah, 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 bah. Because Whitey knew. He knew. He got the message when I said, I guess we're done here then.
Mm.
The kid started to cry. He started to weep. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm saying to myself. One minute he's a tough guy, the next minute he's fucking crying like a little bitch.
I just got yelled at by Whitey Bulger.
Yeah, I've been yelled at him too, but I didn't cry. I had fucking guns put on me. I didn't cry.
You're not a crier?
Yeah, of course. I only cry for my wife. So anyway, the kid get out of the car. He left. And I was ready to leave too. Or he said, no. You'll stay here with me. We're going to go for a ride. We're going to ride around for a little bit. He wanted me to cool off.
Mm.
And he wanted to tell me the real reason why he was there.
Which was?
He drove me around. He said, the kid's got problems. He's a little emotionally fucking, crazy. He said, but I'm going to tell you why he was there. because his girlfriend worked at the store. And the store was where he was sitting. He could see the store. And my apartment was here.
Is it just a coincidence?
For me.
Yeah.
And he was watching the store for his girlfriend because he felt that she was cheating on him. And she was. She was 19 years old, fucking Stevie Flemmi.
Oh, I thought you was gonna just gonna say you.
No, she was Stevie Flemmi was an older man.
Yeah, he had to be
time,
what, 60, something like that?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Late 50s anyway. 60. Yeah.
Good for him.
So that's why the kid was keeping an eye on her and see if she was cheating on him. Had he seen her leave with fucking Stevie Flemmi, I would have liked to seen that one happen. I would have been like, yeah, okay, go ahead. So let's see what happens now with that kid, you know? I mean, never mind me, but, you know, really.
That could have been messy.
Yeah, for him. I can guarantee you that. They might not have found him or her after that one. Yeah. To be honest with you. Seriously. That kid was, if he even attempted something like that, that would have been his downfall, man. He would have been gone then.
How much did you find out while you're doing all this work? Like, you're on the drug side. It's not like you're out there whacking people or anything. But how much did you hear credibly or directly about bodies dropping and people getting killed?
Well, at my time, bodies weren't dropping. Okay, any bodies that they had at that time was way before me. I was a young guy when I was the youngest guy involved. So it was later on, and those bodies were already buried and gone at that time before I even got there.
Got it.
So when you get a guy like some rat saying that, oh, how come he didn't get indicted? Because Whitey killed all these people and he didn't get indicted too for murders? No, you idiot. Because they were all done before I even got there, wasn't even involved, you moron. That's why.
So he had such power that there was no need at that time to even have to demonstrate it, you're saying?
No. As a matter of fact, he didn't like me losing my temper.
Yeah.
He didn't like me losing my temper, and I lost my temper quite a few times.
You would never lose your temper.
No. I tried not to. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But no, he used to talk to me and not to lose my temper. I've lost my temper with people, but I also lost it with people who were surveilling us. I would, like, one day one of the agents had called me a moron. Hey, Red, you're nothing but a fucking moron.
An FBI guy did?
He was with the DEA. And I said, excuse me? What the fuck did you just call me? Oh, man, I lost my shit. This is a true story. And it was in front of the store, and I was with a bunch of guys, friends, and it was the two of them in the car. And I jumped on top of the hood, the front of the hood of the car.
Of the DEA's car.
They were with organized crime, working with DEA, and I started jumping in the car, kicking their window, and telling them get the fuck out of the car and see what a moron I am.
Somewhere back at base, they're like, bingo, got one.
So Whitey got wind of it. He heard all about it. And he chastised me about it. He said, don't ever do that again. Do not do that again. You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So I never did it again after that. But yeah, so those are the things that he used to say to me. And he never, if somebody pisses you off or something, don't do anything, let me know about it.
If you're talking about the fact, though, we got into this because you're explaining that you were really seeing this guy usually at night for some business or dispute type thing. It's not like you're hanging with him at the bar every day. Or going on his runs with him.
there was a couple of times where he came down to Triple O's and I was down there with some of the guys, and I'd be on one end of the bar and he'd be on the other, and I'd buy him a beer and then he'd buy me a beer, a Heineken or something. But Whitey never drank really at all. And quite frankly, he's the one who excuse me, that used to talk to me about stuff. Like even during the day, I didn't like see him that much during the day because he wasn't around during the day that much, only in the later afternoon. But when I did see him, we'd talk, and he'd talk about fine wines, fancy restaurants and stuff, and stuff like that. And so I started doing the same thing. I started emulating him in almost every single way that I could.
Through limited interaction.
Through limited interaction, yes.
So did you view him more as a god than a father figure kind of deal?
In the beginning, it was more like a, hey, this is Whitey Bulger. This guy's a legend, you know?
Yeah.
And then after that, after getting in and being around him, it started becoming like a father figure to me. And I remember when back then I had a little tail that was on my hair. I had short hair, but I had a little tail. It was kind of like...
Oh, yeah, the rat tail.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
I thought you didn't do anything with rats.
So yeah, exactly. So, but it was kind of like the thing in Southie at the time that, it was a fad. So I had it, and I went into the store, and he was reading the paper, and he had his glasses on. He looked up, and he goes, "Red." Yeah. And I was talking to Kevin Weekes, and he says, "What is that?" I said, "What do you mean? What's what?" He goes, "That in the back of your hair." I said, "Oh, that is just a tail, some people wearing it." And so he goes, "You're a clean-cut, good-looking kid." He said, "That don't look good on you. You get rid of it. You look better." I went, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Kevin, you get a pair of scissors." I said, "Make sure you cut it straight," I said to him, so it, straight across.
Yeah.
So Kevin cut it, stripped it off. I looked, good job. That was into ever having anything like that again. So yeah, I was kind of like a father figure at that moment. And, like again, I'm going to say this again. I gravitated towards that because I never had a father.
Yeah.
And I felt, it meant something that he was caring for me at that moment, if you will, as crazy and as small as it is. As a young boy, a young kid, you psychologically, that's what you feel.
For sure. What about Flemmi and Weekes? Did you spend a lot of time with them, or was it a similar kind of thing? You see them when you see Whitey?
No, I seen Kevin more, actually. And when I seen, and the same thing with Stevie. Stevie wasn't around all the time in Southie. He was other places. And but when he did come around, he was in the store. We'd talk all the time. Matter of fact, Stevie and Whitey, they were into juicing. Like juices and fresh juice.
Oh, I thought you meant like steroids.
No. Fresh juice, vegetables, and
Really?
Oh yeah. They ate very well, trained and worked out, and took care of themselves and their diet and everything. Oh yes. And me, I was doing the same thing. Training and dieting and doing the right thing and conditioning. And I was juicing at that time too. I mean, this is years ago. And
you guys were a health club too.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you.
And that at that time, Stevie, we were talking, Stevie would say, sugar's so bad for you, and talk about that with me. And he gave me some books on juicing. So yeah, which I appreciated at the time. But yeah, no, it wasn't a whole lot of interaction. But yeah, I could walk up to him.
Sure.
He'd be there, and whatever you need, Steve. What's Stevie? Hey, Red, how you doing? Yeah, how's the day today? Nothing but a gentleman to me all the time. Even though he was a rat himself, he was a rat before Whitey, by the way.
He was.
He was.
How do we know that?
Back from the files and all that. He was a rat for this guy, H. Paul Rico.
Oh, what a name.
And he ended up dying in prison years later because they were bringing him in for a murder that happened in Florida. And he was associated with the murder. He actually hired the guys to do the murder, told the guys to do the murder.
Are you talking about Rico or Flemmi?
RICO.
Okay.
So eventually they after Stevie spilled the beans, now they went after Rico and everyone else. And when they all got indicted at that time, Whitey and him and everything.
And we know that Whitey and Flemmi, any of that ratting, that started back as early as like the 70s, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was really run by John Connolly. He was the point man on it.
No, H. Paul Rico was one of the main guys even before Connolly. Yep.
Oh, wait a second. I just misunderstood what you said.
Yes.
When you said H. Paul Rico, I thought you meant they were ratting on that guy. You're saying he was an FBI guy.
He was the FBI guy. He was
Holy
he was
shit.
the handler.
And he also went down for murder?
Eventually, he was going to trial in his early 80s, I believe it was. He was, and they brought him in. He ended up dying. He ended up passing away before he could even do any type of trial. He died.
Wow. God, the job applications in the Boston FBI are not too great.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you, first of all, what would you say? You're like a top 10 guy at your peak?
What do you mean?
Within the Irish mob in Boston?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like up near the top.
It was you had Whitey, Stevie, Kevin.
Yep.
And then I was down there.
Right.
I was right there. No one else. No one else. I didn't listen to anybody.
Wow.
Only Whitey. That's who I listened to. No one else told me what to do. Whitey was the boss. Whatever Whitey said, if he told Kevin to tell me, then Kevin would tell me.
Got it.
But yeah, that's the level I was at.
How did you end up going down?
Well, as I said earlier, Whitey got wind of the DEA's investigation.
Yep.
And he needed someone to insulate him in a buffer. And who better than the guy that he just put the guy through the test on, knowing that he'll never rat. And that was me.
But how did he set you up? Like, what was the actual...
He knew the investigation was happening. He could have said, hey, listen, stop everything right now. But he didn't. He let me go. And he fed me to the DEA. That way, he figured he gave the DEA something, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah. And what was the day you got arrested? Where were you and how'd it go down?
I knew the investigation was happening, of course, and I knew that the indictments were eventually coming soon. And
wait, you knew?
Yeah.
But you were upset because he didn't tell you, but you knew.
No. I knew. Yeah, I knew the indictment was coming. Yes, I did know that through investigations. Okay.
Yeah.
But we got wind of it on the street.
Okay.
Okay.
And he could have told you earlier.
He could have told me in the very beginning.
Yeah. So you could have stopped those operations.
I wouldn't have done it. I would have backed away. Yeah. I would have just ended. As a matter of fact, I went to him and said, hey, listen, there's so much heat. I think I'm going to stop. I think we should just rest everything and let it go down and just like stop. Just take a break. We made enough money. Just take a break. He said, oh, you don't want to do that. Just be, yeah, oh, yeah. You don't want to do that.
Walk the plank, Malaka. Yeah.
You don't want to do it. I'll come back to boxing. I was still training in boxing. I was still young enough, plenty young. Nah, you don't want to do that. You're going to go get hit in the head and, be punch drunk, this and that. You're going to be on TV. You don't want to be on TV. The people will see you. So I looked at him. I was like, all right. He said, just be more careful and surveillance and don't say anything on the phone and stuff like this and, shit like that. But something just didn't sit well with me. My antennas were going off, if you will. I said, all right. So I continued to do what I was doing and just try to be more safe and careful.
How would you be more safe and careful? Insulate yourself?
Just doing things in the middle of the night. Because he always said nighttime is free camouflage.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how extensive the case was. I'm sure he knew. That's for sure. But he knew it was coming. And I had word that it would possibly coming, but it was too late by then.
Yeah.
you know? So he used me and everyone else as a sacrificial lamb to feed to the DEA and insulate himself. He says, there you go, you got everybody, but not me.
Where were you when you were arrested?
I was in front of, well, first I got arrested prior to that because they went around and the DEA did, and they started with warrants and started going to businesses that Whitey had, and then went to some homes. And I got wind of it. I was like, what the hell is happening? I didn't know what the hell was happening. You know, what the DEA, what are they doing? They're taking the computers, this, that, whatever they had in the store and stuff. I drove by, I looked, I was, oh boy, then maybe I should get out of here. This is probably me getting indicted. Maybe I should go away for the weekend, you know? Another weekend getaway to, you know? So I was waiting for a friend, and he was going to meet me. And I had this secondhand car, and sometimes it needed a little oil, so I was just checking the oil on it. You know, inconspicuous car, nothing fancy. And I had the hood up. And when I had the hood up, I went to go shut the hood, and here comes the agent. Comes around to the side, and he goes, hey, Red, where you going? I said, none of your business. So I shut the hood, and I looked. There was a line of agents from one side of the street to the other. I turn around and look. There's another line of agents from one sidewalk to the other. I was like, oh, fuck. Right? So he says, Red, we want to go up into your house. We saw you drive by the store, Red. You know, when they were down there taking the stuff out. And I said, oh, yeah? You want to go up into my house? You got a warrant? And that's when shit hit the fan. You know, I got a fucking warrant. Well, fuck, all right. And here we go. Me and aggressiveness don't get along too well. So I said, go fuck yourself, you mother, you know, fuck. And before you know it, we get in a tango match. And
a tango match.
Tango match, you know, grabbing each other.
You're grabbing the agent.
Well, he grabbed me. What the fuck?
It's only like 2 armies of agents around you.
Oh, well, I learned that after the fact. I can tell you that. So before you know it, they all converged on me, had me up against the car. My arm is bent back. My wrist was fucking killing me. Then they get me on the ground and said, Red, handcuffed me, brought me up into my house, broke in when I could have just let them in, but I wasn't doing that. And I had a SolarFlex machine from years ago. I used to work out. I don't know if you know what they are.
SolarFlex?
Yes.
Like a Bowflex?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
But this was a machine you could hang from it and then do pull-ups on it, like, you know, sit-ups on it, but from down, hanging from your legs. So, and then you could do like weight, like it was rubber band weights, you know.
Nice.
So, and it was in a room, a bedroom that I had that I used as a workout room, and it had a window there that overlooked the city. My place was nice. It overlooked the city and stuff. I had a big deck, and it was pretty nice. It was just brand new built.
Sounds like Matt Damon's apartment in The Departed, right? There's a lot of things coming from that movie today.
And that said, I'm sitting there on my SolarFlex machine. The agent's watching me and guarding me. He said, "Oh, you a boxer?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, Pernell Whitaker's a friend of mine." You know, back in the day, Pernell Whitaker was a great champ, and from Virginia. "Oh, you know Pernell Whitaker?" "Yeah, I knew Pernell Whitaker back in the day. I know him back, yeah." "Oh, good. He was talking just boxing with me." "Oh, good, yeah." Because see, if he asked me any questions or anything, I would have told him to go fuck himself. But that's besides the point. Oh, you want to talk boxing? I could talk boxing, you know. So they weren't arresting anybody. They were just collecting information, if you will. So I knocked at the door. I figure it's my friend that I'm supposed to go meet. right? I said, get away from the door. There's DEA in here. Get away from the door. Leave. The fucking door gets swung open by a guy. And then another guy comes walking behind him. And he's got this hat on. Like Elliot Ness.
G-Man kind of thing.
G-Man thing, yeah. So he comes in, he looks at me. He goes, how you doing, son? I said, well, I said, I'm all right, but my wrist is really sore. I said, if you could take me and just cuff me to my machine and leave this one alone, I said, I'd appreciate that. How's that sound? Because it's really killing me right now. He walks behind me, looks out the window to Boston, and stares, turns around, and crunches the cuffs even harder on my wrist, and he says, I don't want you weaseling out. And he walked out, because I'm sometimes like a joker at times too.
No, you're not.
No.
You would never do that.
No, absolutely not. I'm not much of a comedian, though, I can tell you that. So he walks out of the room, and I says, well, I says to the other agent that was watching me, I goes, well, I guess Elliot Ness doesn't like me. You know? Oh, yeah. And he was the head DEA agent of all New England.
Oh, the guy that...
His last name was Brown. And by the way, that's my wife's maiden name. Brown.
Not related, right?
Not related, no.
Did you check that?
I did, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
That's good. So
Yeah,
they took
he didn't
you in
like
after
me.
that, right?
So nobody got arrested but me.
Yeah.
I was the only one who got arrested for assault and battery on a federal officer. My lawyer, it's in the papers, the lawyers, the TV, this, what, news. And I got bailed out. $25,000 it cost. They bailed me out. $250,000 bond, whatever it was. And my lawyer says, this ain't over. This is going to be a big thing. Tony Cardinelli, famous lawyer, represented all kinds of mob. He represented the Angelos in Boston, too.
Yep.
He says to me, yeah, this ain't over. He said that they got these charges, assault and battery. Assault and battery, they fucking attacked me, he says. I said, I was only fucking defending myself. So,
try that one in court.
Anyhow, I knew the phones were bugged.
Oh, they were?
Oh, my house was bugged, yeah. Everything was fucking bugged. Cars, phones, apartments, you name it. So you didn't talk anything in the car or talk anything on the phone, or you're not supposed to, or talk anything in the house. But I did have surveillance equipment that would evade that. That I used to hook up. It sent out a high pitch. Years ago, they had the recording.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I bought all this shit in New York. So this week, the recording would turn, and that tape, if you sent out a high pitch, it would screw up the tape.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get the actual wording.
Oh, my God. I
had that equipment. And they were like in briefcases, Samsonite briefcases. Yeah, it was two speakers, and then one main board that you would run off of. Anyhow, I didn't use it too much. I should have used it more, I can tell you that. And you could actually hook it up to the phone, and if you were talking on the phone, it would send a high pitch to the phone, and so if there was a recording, it would do the same thing. It couldn't record it.
Puts like a whale call over it almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And you would have a conversation, but they couldn't pick it up on the recording because of that. It would be erased. So anyhow, I got on the phone. I said, called some friends. I said, yeah. I said, the woman next door, she's coming to my defense. And she's really good friends with my mom. She's known me since I was a kid, and she's seen these people attack me, and she's gonna come as a witness for me and tell the tell the court and everything else. And the guy behind me, who's such and such's father, he's coming to court for me too, and he's going to say the same thing because they all saw what they did to me. And I was just like, trying to defend myself,
Yeah.
Holy behold, they dropped the charges.
They actually dropped it because of the witnesses.
Must have worked.
That was it. Wow.
They figured, he got these people, he's working it now. The real reason why, and of course I thought that at the time, but the real reason why they dropped those charges, assault and battery on a federal officer, was because the big charges were coming that way, and that didn't matter. It didn't matter. The big charges that were coming towards me, it didn't matter.
How long till they came down?
I want to say 8 months.
Well, all right, so that's
6
a
months.
window. What are you doing during that 6-8 months?
I kept making money, trying to do whatever I could.
Are you working with Whitey?
Oh yeah. But
So
he
you're
was
just doing like collections and stuff?
No, I was selling drugs still. Fuck yeah. You shitting me? Fuck
The
it.
charges still coming down. You're still doing
Yeah,
it.
fuck it.
What did he say though? Because at this point now they've come.
He didn't say anything. I just kept making money. I wasn't even paying him at the time. No, I just made whatever I could. I wasn't a lot of drugs, but it was some.
Right.
I was just making money, putting
Pay the
it in
bills.
Yeah, pay the bills. Exactly.
And then you get arrested.
And then they came for me for the real indictment. I got arrested. And
What were the charges? Like, what were you facing?
it was a CCE, continuing a criminal enterprise, 20 to life.
20 to life. What's that like? You're like 24,
I
25?
listen, I was a young guy. I had no idea what the fuck that meant to me. All I do know what 20 to life meant, but I had no idea what the statutes or the charges or the numbers or whatever you want to call it meant. And
But did that send like a shiver down your spine that you're like, meaning you obviously never ratted or anything like that, but was there like an instant, I don't know, self-protection feeling you're getting? Like, holy fuck, I got to figure out how to get out of this.
So, wow, you're always trying to defend. That's made in me as a fighter, as a kid growing up in the gutter and getting beaten up and everything else. It's just instinct for me and in my being to defend. So, yeah, I mean, I tried everything. I was dinking everything, and I wasn't going down easy. I can tell you that. I was fighting tooth and nail. So almost everyone got out on bail but me.
Because they were all lower level.
Well, they weren't as high as me, no.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to feel the real pressure in the interrogation and stuff like that. And
But they wanted you to rat.
they wanted me to rat, and I wouldn't. So
Did they ask? Did it ever come up that they're like, "Oh, we want you to rat on Whitey Bulger and Steve Flemmi"?
Fuck yeah.
And they went right for the top, right?
Oh yeah, they didn't care about anybody smaller than them.
I only asked that because on the back end, like I know this is DEA, but FBI is technically handling those guys unbeknownst to you. So I didn't know if they like skirted around that at all.
They didn't know. The DEA didn't know they were with the FBI either.
Right, but I'm saying like if the FBI had been like, no, go after these, like pull the big dick kind of thing because they know, right? And they're like, no, go after these guys. They're the real players or something like that.
Eventually, the DEA did start to catch on and say, something's not right with the FBI and Whitey and Stevie, because every time there was a bug that they planted, Whitey always found it.
Gone, yeah.
Always fucking found it. Even with our bug detectors that we had, he always found it.
Even when the DEA was doing it.
When the DEA was doing it. The feds didn't do it because he was with the feds.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the feds knew when the DEA was doing it and where they were putting it.
Yeah, because they were telling the feds. And John Connolly was tipping off Whitey.
Oh, my God.
You think he would have told me, the son of a bitch?
Mm-mm.
Huh? Yeah.
Apparently not.
Sacrificial lamb for him. And he figured, hey, the kid, he ain't never going to rat. He's got big balls. He's solid. And he's young. He could take the hit. And when he gets out, if everything's still kosher, he can come back with me.
Yeah.
That's what he did to a lot of guys. Oh, he was a
Rectified it to himself in a way.
yeah, whatever, however he thought of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but did I think about? I said, oh yeah, I said, wow, I'm in a lot of trouble here. When I seen the magnitude at the time, I said, oh boy, I'm in a lot of trouble here. Oh well, I guess this is what I've been waiting for. Eventually, I knew something like this would happen. I'm just gonna deal with it. That's it.
And how did you did end up pleading down though, right?
So we waited. We let everything,
Yep.
The longer lawyers like that, when they know that the deck is stacked against you so hard, they like to put it on the back burner. And you become insignificant at some point because so many other cases are coming forth. Yep. Yeah. So you kind of fizzle out in a way. So the head of the organized crime unit, his name was Jonathan Shields. And he said no deal for Red Shea. The only deal he gets is if he fucking rats. So I'm still looking at 20 to life. Holy behold, my attorney goes over his head to the head attorney general in Massachusetts, in Boston. His name was Papalato at the time. He was acting because the head guy was a guy named Wayne Budd, and he went to Washington, so he took his spot because he was second in charge. Well, the administration that was coming in, they told him, you're not going to be in charge. We're putting our own guy there because, it's all political,
That's how it goes.
Political hack shit,
So he's a what's the term? Lame duck.
He's a lame duck, so he says, fuck it. I'm gonna go into private practice then. Right? So my attorney knew that. It happened to fucking work out beautiful for me, let me tell you. I was so fucking God was looking out for me. Thank you, God, So he went over to Jonathan Shields' head of the organized crime unit. And in my book, in the back of my book, I have a picture of me when I was 7 years old, sitting in the ring on a stool, and I was boxing with green shots on, no headgear, and the trainer's giving me, the corner man's giving me advice, and I'm just sitting there like this little kid on a stool like that. And when you look at that picture, you're like, wow, what a cute little kid, it's sitting in a stool boxing.
What happened?
He took that picture. When he walked into the meeting, he told me this. I wasn't in the meeting. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall that day. He took the picture and he threw it on the table at him. And he said, there's the kid you want to give 20 to life for. Just because he won't rat. Because he won't fucking say a word. And he will never say a word. He'll never rat. And you want to ruin this young man here. That's him. That's him. You want to ruin his life for the rest of his life because he won't rat. He said, listen, I think I can beat these charges to a certain amount. I think I can. So he said to him, I think I could get it at least 12 years. You have him do 12 years on the can. You got your conviction. He gets more than anybody else. And you got a feather in your hat, and I'll see you on the other side when you become a private attorney.
Guy says yes.
Guy says, make it happen. I'll make it happen. I'll make a phone call. He called down and told him to make the deal with the lawyer.
Whoa. That's still 12 years, though. I mean, that's not 2 days.
It's over a decade still, but I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
But do I think he would have been able to get it down to a certain amount? I don't know. I mean, all I know is I was thankful that it happened. And, very thankful. I mean, when I heard the 12 years, I said, yeah, absolutely. I jumped on that. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't argue with the lawyer. I didn't argue with him at all.
12 years, I guess.
But I'm going to tell you this. If he told me we're going to trial, I would say, yeah, sure. I know I would have been gone. I would have taken off. Are you shitting me?
Oh, you would have jumped bail.
Oh, I would have fucking cut that bracelet off in fucking 2 seconds. Are you kidding
Any
me?
ideas where you would have gone?
No, but the DEA said we were hoping that you took off and went to Ireland because we wanted a free trip to Ireland. So, yeah.
Who
Well,
wants a free trip to Ireland?
yeah. I'll take a free trip to
I'm
Ireland.
fucking with you, Red.
I know.
I was hoping you were going to get mad.
No.
I heard Ireland's actually beautiful.
Yeah,
I've never been.
It is beautiful. I
You
haven't
been there a
been either,
bunch,
no.
or-
No.
Never?
I don't know.
We got to get you there.
Oh,
Get
I
to the
know.
roots.
Listen, all my friends, I have friends from there. I get relatives from there, of course. But yeah, and I've never gone.
Interessante.
Yeah.
So you go in, you do 12. Now, Whitey Bulger, for people that don't know the story, if you haven't seen Black Mass or seen the millions of documentaries and all the news, he was outed officially as a rat, along with Steve Flemmi and the crew, and went on the run, I believe, in like 1995, 1996, and wasn't caught, as it would turn out, until 2011 out in California. So he was successfully, as an FBI most wanted, ironically, on the run for 15, 16 years.
16.
Right. And you were in prison finding out you were what, like halfway into your sentence almost when you found out
Well,
he was a rat?
when I get out of prison, he was still on the run.
Right. But I'm saying when you
So
found out he was a
when
rat.
I found out I had another 5 years to go in my sentence. And
How'd you find out?
one of the guys in prison told me, he said, "Hey, I just come over the radio that Whitey and Stevie were rats." And I was in New Jersey, in this state at the time.
Fort Dix?
Yeah. And I goes, "What?" So I made a phone call home. And I got the truth. I called home immediately. And I got the truth. And I'll be very honest with you. And I felt that like somebody reached through the phone, reached in and just pulled down my throat and pulled my heart out because of the loyalty that I gave and you know, the honorability that I gave to that man. Yeah, I was my legs buckled a little bit, believe it or not.
Did you not believe it at first? Were you like still
No,
way?
not when I called home.
You believed it.
Oh yeah, that's when it hit me. And then I was completely a wreck in rage. And my attorney reached out to me, Tony Cardinelli. He said, "Listen, I know what the answer is going to be. I already know what the answer is going to be, but I have to by law. If you cooperate against Whitey now with the DEA, you'll be able to come home now."
You had 5 years left.
Yeah. I didn't care if I had 5 years or 20 years. I didn't care. I walked into prison as a man. I was walking out a man.
So even in that moment when the guys who had put you on and everything were all rats, and no one would have blamed you. I mean, who the hell cares? You were still...
No, they would have blamed me. There were other guys out on the street that were solid, that were still there, that were, involved in life, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was no thought. There was no, momentary, even just, well, maybe. It was straight up, no, fuck this. I will never do that.
Yeah, never. Like I said to that guy in that day in Danbury, Connecticut, when it was all men prison, I said to him, just because even if Whitey's a rat, we don't rat. I said to him, which I don't believe, which I was wrong. But I protected him all the way. As a matter of fact, one case that they had that they tried to get against Whitey and Stevie was with bookmakers and some guy who got shooken down or something. And I was inside my cell. And I was monitoring all this from where I was. And I called one of my attorneys, Fran Hurley, and he helped me write Rap Bastards, by the way. And I said, "Fran, do me a favor." I need you to come down and see me. Fran says, yep, I'll be down. Tony Connelly was working the case, but he didn't represent Stevie Flemmi. He represented someone else.
Mm.
And I said, I need you to come here now. He came down, drove all the way down. I talked to him. I said, this snitch here that's going against him, follow this lead. Follow it. Now, mind you, we didn't know there were snitches at that time. It's come out later.
Mm.
I said, follow this lead. So he did. The guy was had a case against him for fraud. And he went to trial, and he got on the stand, and he perjured himself on the stand. And they said, you perjured yourself already. That's at least 5 years there. And the conviction that you're going to get, you're going to do a lot of time. You want yourself to get out? Do what we say, and you'll get out. Oh, yeah.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
So he went against Whitey and Stevie, saying they shook him down and all this shit and everything else extorted. But yet I got the information. The reason why he's doing that is because he put himself in a pickle.
Yeah.
And he made this story up with the government to get himself out. I was doing that from my fucking jail cell, still protecting them as the true soldier that I was. Is that loyal?
Of course it is. It's just amazing that, like, you would still, there's still a code from where you grew up that is so deeply ingrained in you that even when other people, like the biggest people, break it, just so that you can look yourself in the mirror at night, if nothing else besides that, you won't do it. And I mean, it's hard not to have some level of respect for that. Now, I'm friends with a guy you wouldn't like at all. The one rat I've had on my podcast before, my friend Matt Cox, who was not in any life. He was just a regular fraudster.
He's got his own show, too.
Yeah.
I'm not too fond of him either.
I could imagine.
I actually was. Isn't he in Florida and
He's
Tampa?
in Florida, yeah.
Yeah, somebody said, hey, you want to go on the Max Cox show? Yeah, I swear to God. So hold on. The guy reached out to him and said, hey, you want Red Shea on your show? So the guy goes, so I said, nothing. I said, I got to go to Florida. I'm paying to go down to fucking Florida. At least he could pay for my plane flight to get down and see him or something. I don't know. But I know that they don't do that. I know that. I know that. But I'm new at this, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's the one making the money. I'm not making no money, right? So, I mean, seriously. So now I didn't know he was a rat, right? Didn't know it, right? So the guy goes, fuck that. I can have a drug dealer off the street, a junkie off the street. I don't have to pay him. Right?
That is the most mad guy.
Right? I'm sure you heard that before. And that cost me nothing. Right? So I goes, I was like, fuck this guy, right? I don't care about him anyway. Holy behold, I find out afterwards, he's a snitch.
Oh, yeah.
He even ratted on a guy in prison. He got information and ratted on him in prison that he didn't even know the guy.
That's right.
He didn't even know the guy. He just gave him up.
You got to hear him talk about it.
Yeah, he's proud of it. Oh, yeah, I'm proud of that. Yeah. Oh, man, I know he's a little guy, too. He better, oh, man, let me tell you, I didn't want to see that guy. I know somebody who was on his show, and they regret because they didn't know.
Because they didn't know. Yeah.
Because they didn't know.
There's a couple people, yeah.
Yeah, and he regrets it today.
Yeah.
Oh, man, does he regret it, because this guy is a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
And he went on his fucking show.
I think I know who you're talking about. But yeah, Matt's story it's a little different, but he's right.
He's stone
right
cold
out with it.
He's stone cold
about it.
He's stone cold.
Yeah. He's like when he talks about first before he went into prison, I'm like, were you gonna rat? He's like, no. I'm like, why not? He's like, because I've seen The Godfather, bro. I'm a gangster. And then he's like, then you get into prison. You're not a gangster. This is all stupid. He has a totally different viewpoint on it. Because again, there was he didn't come, I'm not defending it, or I'm just saying, analyzing here. He didn't come from like what you did. There was no group or anything. He was just some solo regular con guy, and literally a con man. And when he got in there, he's like, oh, I'm going to protect myself. It's just really funny how
Protect yourself.
How
the
open
fuck
he
was he
is about
protecting
it.
himself? He was ratting on guys inside prison
well,
that were telling them his story.
I know.
Their story.
I know. And
Well, that's one thing what Whitey always told me. He said, listen, be aware. And he said this to me prior to going to prison. They might stick a rat in your cell. If they do, you tell them, if they stick someone in there you don't know, it's probably a fed or a rat.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so whatever you do, tell them you want to be alone. Or tell the person to beat it. And if they don't, then say there's going to be a problem here. And if they come to you, just say, then stick me in the hole if you have to. Because I ain't having anybody with me.
Yeah. Well, that's how
that happened to me. It did happen to me.
You had a guy get in your cell that was
Oh
definitely.
yeah, I fucking told him. I told him. I told him you better go to them and tell them that you need to leave because you ain't staying here anymore with me, brother. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It ain't gonna be pretty. You're not gonna like it. He left, but nothing ever happened to me. They didn't stick me in a hole. They left me alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was in the. Oh yeah.
I need to see you do Matt's podcast. I want to be there for it. I'll be in the other room. You can do whatever you want, but I need to see that. It'd be the funniest fucking thing of all time. He's already
That ain't gonna happen, brother.
pissed.
That's not ever gonna happen. Trust me.
Yeah, you hit Matt for being short too. I love that.
Yeah.
He's like 5'3".
Yeah, I know.
He's one of my favorite little guys. But yeah, probably not your cup of tea. So anyway, back to your story though. You find out Whitey's a snitch.
I could have ratted. I could have come
ratted
home.
and you didn't.
You know, I hear the thing. Oh, that's really stupid. He didn't rat on the guy who set him up and. No, I didn't.
Like we said, you had the
No,
code.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't. No.
but
So 2 wrongs make a right? Just accept your responsibility
right.
and take it on the chin and do your fucking time and pay your debt to society.
Yeah.
And don't rat on anybody.
Well, the guy you worked for didn't want to do that, but he did end up. The chicken came home to roost eventually.
He did. And the funny thing about it is when he was still on the run and I was out of prison at that time.
Yeah, you were out for what, like 9 years before he got caught, something like that.
And
did you want to find him?
Oh yeah. Oh, you shitting me?
Were you out there looking?
Oh yeah, I already had it planned and everything. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can guarantee that. But so this is the story. I used to have this dream. And my dream was meeting him in New York, bumping into him in the streets of New York. Dreams are dreams, right? I mean, we never know like what makes sense in a dream sometimes. Yeah. And I see him and I pull him into a doorway. And I ask him. I say to him, "Why? Why did you rat? Why? How could you be a rat all those years?" I said, "I was loyal to you." He said to me, "I was just trying to protect you." Yeah, that was in the dream. So I couldn't make any sense of that. And I barreled through and I grabbed him by his chin and the back of his head and I snapped his neck. Literally. And killed him right there and left him there. So those are the dreams that I had lived with and had quite often. They've subsided over time.
That's good.
Thank God.
Yeah. Can imagine the anger though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
He got caught out in Santa Monica. What was his tie to Santa? He didn't have a tie to Santa Monica, did he?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So where he came from in the projects, and I came from, O'Connelly projects here, and the Old Harbor projects here.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Ellen McCormick, but they called them the Old Harbor projects. And right next door to that was a church, and it's still there today. And it's called Santa Monica's.
Come on.
Nope.
And that's how he chose Santa Monica.
So I have a friend who lives 4 blocks from where they caught Whitey.
In California.
In Santa Monica. Hold on.
No.
I was out there
No.
visiting him. His name is Ken Koken. He was a producer on the Usual Suspects movie, Academy Award back in the day, and a producer on The Way of the Gun with Ryan Phillippe. So I went out and I was out there hanging with Ken, and we used to take walks from where he lived down to that area, the plaza down there, to get coffee at that Starbucks that Whitey Bulger used to go to.
So you would pass this place and the Starbucks.
Could you imagine if I would have definitely recognized him even as an older man.
I'd be talking to you from prison right now.
No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't. Oh,
They
no,
wouldn't
you
have
wouldn't
found the
have.
body?
No. There would have been a citizen's arrest. And during that citizen's arrest, there was a confrontation, and I had to defend myself. I mean,
You can't make that shit up.
you can't
though.
make that shit up. That's what a small world it's been.
I wonder if he saw you.
Well, I was out there with my book, and they had a like a festival
Yeah.
to do for movies and stuff, Santa Monica Festival that they show. I don't know if they do it every year now or whatever, but I happened to be out there at that time. And
When he got caught?
no, during
When the book was coming out.
when my book was out
And he was living there. Yeah.
and he was living there. Supposedly he went over there during that time to scope things out while I was there. Yep. And then when they caught him in Santa Monica with $800 and something thousand in the walls and plenty of guns, he had a library.
No.
Yes.
The book was in there?
Rat Bastards was there.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yep.
What if he was just like reading the book at the Starbucks with his hat on one time when you were in there getting a fucking caramel macchiato? Can you imagine? And you don't know it, that happened, obviously.
Oh, didn't know he was there?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's very real. That could have been.
It could have, but I would have noticed him. Starbucks isn't that big. I would have noticed him. You can guarantee that.
That's unbelievable. So when he got caught,
I never forget those eyes. Those eyes were pretty piercing.
Yeah, he did have fucking piercing eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't see him in person, but even in the pictures, they look piercing.
Yep.
You were telling me before, I think it was before camera, that when you were consulting on Black Mass for Johnny Depp, can you just tell this story, like what happened when you went to go see him?
So Johnny Depp, I get a call. Johnny Depp and the crew, actors would like to meet up and say hello to me and just talk to me and just regular Joe. See what I wasn't even advising them, nothing like that. Just hang out. I said, yeah, sure, I'll get down. Joel Edgerton, great guy, good friend today. He's doing really well. And so I said, yeah, I'll get down, meet up with them. So we did. I did. And hung out with Johnny and them and everything. I went out to dinner with them and stuff like that at another time. And I get pictures of me and Johnny with Johnny hand over my shoulder, A solid guy, believe it or not. He's had his troubles in life, like us all.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
But he's a solid guy, Johnny Depp. One of the things I remember, he was a real gentleman and a kind man with me, of course, but with everybody that I noticed around him. And one of the things I did notice strongly about Johnny was that he made sure when we were out that the people who were waiting on us, staff and like that, he made sure through his assistants to make sure that those people were paid handsomely, tipped well, very well. He said, oh, did you give him this? Did you give him that? He double checked. He said, yes, I did, Johnny. I found that to be so impressive.
Yeah.
Really, that solid guy.
He's one of those guys that, like, none of us really know him, but you do hear a lot of those stories through the grapevine. Pat was even telling me he stops in town a lot. Augustino's here. I didn't even know that. But you know, there's some celebrities you hear some awful stories about. He's one of the ones that it's usually been good, which is why the whole Amber Heard thing was like surprising when it first came up, you know?
Well, he had contacted me after the Amber Heard incident and all that, after he got back on his feet, if you will.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he flew. And it was like just out of the spare moment, you know. And I get a call. I don't know who the number is. It ain't his number, right? Because I have his phone number. But he changed it after that because he was getting so much, you know, shit with the trial. And no pun intended. Hello. Yeah, exactly. We and I don't want to go any further than that. So that said, he calls.
Would you let Amber Heard shit on you?
No, never.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Yeah, not. My wife would kill me if that ever happened.
I think she would.
Yeah, no, I'd be divorced tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd be getting divorced with a knife into my back or something. Who knows? Maybe in the front for, you know. No, my wife would never put up with anything like that. But that's besides the point. It's funny to have fun. But that said, he called me out of the clear blue. We had a number. And I, who's this? No, it was a text. And I was like, who's this? And I call, who's this? Oh, Mr. Shea. Mr. Shea. Yeah, Johnny is in town. And he's doing the band thing, the guitar thing, you know, with Beck. The guitarist, and
I don't know. I know Johnny has a band. I don't know.
Yeah,
Jeff Beck.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
Jeff
he
Beck.
Also played with Eric Clapton too.
He played with Eric Clapton.
Yeah, he toured with Eric Clapton and I believe Jeff Beck. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, that's correct. So they were doing it in Boston, and I says, "Oh man," he said, "he would like you to come if you want as his guest and come backstage and everything, you know, because he's in Boston." I said, "Man, it's the last minute. I got to go. I already get reservations for something else, you know." And my wife was like, "Oh man, can we break that so we can go?" And Laurie was like, "Honey, I can't do that. You know, I'd love to go, but." So I said, "Is he going to be around afterwards or whatever, or going to be around for a couple of days?" He said, "No, he's flying back out tonight." I said, "Well, give him my regards and tell him, is this his number? I can get back a new number." And he goes, "Yeah." So
that's cool. But what was when he
was
on set with him?
He invited me on set. I met him at his hotel, and he was staying at the Mandarin in Boston.
For Black Mass, we're talking about, where he played Whitey Bulger, just for everyone out there.
And so I met him at the hotel. We went to the set. And he says, "I got to get made up, Red. And do you want to come in the trailer and hang out?" I said, "Absolutely." And I'm sitting there in the trailer with you know, bullshitting. And there was a bust of Whitey, but it was Whitey when he was an old man, you know, kind of no hair or anything, just a bust and all that. And his face was there, you know. And all of a sudden, Johnny's getting made up, and he starts transforming into the old Whitey, you know, not old, but
the one you knew,
the one I knew. And I'm looking, I'm going. Something just overcame me. Right, I started getting butterflies in my stomach. I started getting sick. I was like trying to hold myself back. I wanted to attack Johnny Depp. I swear to God, I'm not kidding you, because he was looking like Whitey Bulger so much, so good, that I said, I got to step outside. So I went outside the trailer to get air, to get a breather, and get a hold of myself. I was ready to start smashing Johnny. I'll be honest with you. So I go back in, and then I told Johnny, and he apologized up and down.
Oh, he apologized.
Oh,
too.
yeah. "I'm so sorry, Red. I didn't realize. I didn't, you know, it's been so long for you. Not a problem, pal. Not a problem,
Just
buddy."
don't look at me the wrong way.
And yeah, so that's what happened on the set with Johnny Depp.
What did you, when he did get caught in Santa Monica, besides having a flashback to like, holy shit, I was right there where he got caught, but, you know, he gets brought back, he gets thrown in jail, gets put on this trial that was a foregone conclusion. You know, what's going through your mind? Was that justice for you, or is it more just like a reminder of the past that you didn't want in your face? What did it feel like?
So first of all, they they had the people against him that were going to testify and witness-wise. Billy Shea, the head of the organization, prior
he
to me,
testified?
he testified against Whitey.
How do you feel about that?
But my name was on the witness list to bring me in to testify in trial against Whitey Bulger. Now, if I didn't testify on the stand, I'd be held in contempt and put back in jail, correct? That's how it works.
I think so.
Yes. So I knew that. I heard rumors of it, and I was doing interviews on CNN about Whitey, you know? And in those interviews, I was saying, yeah, they could call me, but I played poker with them. I said, they can call me. I said, but I'll never testify. They can call in me all they want. I'll never testify. But that was the hook. But if I decided to do that, I don't think it would be good for the prosecution or the defense, either side, if I decided to.
Why? What was your logic?
I could throw a wrench in the wheels. Who knows? You know, I was just playing poker. I was hoping they didn't fucking call me, to be honest with you. Because if they did, I was going back to the can. I wasn't ratting against the fucking Martian. Okay? I wasn't ratting against a Martian. You got that right.
I do 100% believe you. I'm serious.
So I don't know if I did a good job with that or not, but my name was still there and I got wind of it. I got a call. Your name's there. They're going to probably call you. I called my attorney, Tony Cardinelli, immediately, told him. He called the head guy and said the same thing I just said to you. And you got enough guys who were going to convict this. This guy's a goner. You don't need him there.
Kevin Weekes had already turned years before.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. He was testing. They even had some words in court.
That was actually kind of funny. The whole fuck you,
yeah,
fuck you.
Whatever. I mean.
It's a little bit funny. Come on.
Yeah, whatever. You know.
You don't have any time for rats.
I don't, whatever. I mean, he was an old man. I mean, I wouldn't have said a word to him. I just would have walked up and smashed him. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, seriously, I would have.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me, did you want to get out of the courthouse and see him or whatever in the courtroom? I said, what are you, nuts? I said, hey, you think I could control my temper and in there looking at that rat? I said, and stuff. I said, no, I'd be putting myself in a bad position if I did that.
Yeah.
You know, think about it.
Yeah, probably
That'd
for the
be
best.
like stupid. You know, I would have liked to seen him elsewhere alone or something like that. Yeah, of course. But no, I mean, no.
He got what he deserved, though. He got thrown away. Old man lived out his life with no dignity. And then he even got, what was it, like a Genovese guy or something? Got him in prison? Is that what it was? One of the 5 Family guys?
Oh, he wasn't. He was
Greek.
That's exactly right.
Right. But he was a hitman for.
And Tony Cardinelli actually represented him at one time on another case, believe it or not. But he couldn't represent him on that particular this other case that he had because Tony was friends with the guy that he supposedly, I don't know, whacked or whatever.
Right.
So it was a conflict of interest. But that said, yeah, that Greek guy took him out. And touche to him. I mean, you know, the guy's doing life. He ain't getting out. He wanted to kill a legendary rat. And he did, no matter how old he was. Yeah. He admitted to it. He went in court and admitted to it. So he took the blow. He took the brunt of it.
Did you feel anything when he died? Was that like a chapter closing for you or irrelevant?
I was disappointed. Yeah, I was definitely disappointed.
That he died?
That I didn't do it.
I'm laughing. He's got the straightest face ever. Oh, yeah. It's personal. It's very personal. I can't really imagine being in your shoes.
I don't like rats. I mean, who really likes a rat? I mean, think about it. Seriously, I want to ask that question. Who likes a rat? Even a lot of enforcement people, they don't like rats.
No.
Because if they're ratting and doing this, they know that they do it to them too.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I don't think people like them.
Who likes a rat?
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean that. I seriously mean that. And if you do hang with a rat or you like a rat, then you know what? That means you must be in the same category and same boat as them. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
I still need to see that podcast with Matt Cox.
But let me say this. You got to realize after these people are done testifying and doing everything for the government and, you know, years go by, they're like a pack of cigarettes, if you will. Once that pack of cigarettes is finished, or even like a beer can, they crumble it up and they throw it away.
Mm.
You mean nothing to them after that.
Yeah.
The only thing you are is a stinking rat to them. They crumble you up and throw you away. And that's what they have to live with for the rest of their lives. Any of them.
Well, that's it. They gotta live with what it is.
When I look in the mirror and I can walk down any street in America, any street, and hold my head up, proud and high. But when those rats walk down the street, they're wondering, is that guy, is he looking at me the wrong way like I'm a rat? Maybe some of them have faced that walking down the street already. I'm sure they have. I've heard things. Hey, what's up, rat? Yeah. Imagine living like that for the rest of your life.
Wouldn't want to.
I'd rather do my time in the can and be the man I am. Fuck it. Seriously. You sell your soul.
Well, Red, you have, as we said today, you lived it. You say these things, but you backed it up with everything you did. And I think people have to have respect for that. And also, I really appreciate you going through your whole story and the ins and outs and some vivid detail as well. And you've lived a hell of a life. It's really cool to see you, you know, living a good life now over the past couple decades, putting that all behind you, and that's awesome.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor, and I'm so happy that I come on, and hopefully we can do this again sometime
That'd be
down the
very
road. Maybe we could collaborate sometime.
We'd love that.
I'm coming out with my podcast, and I'm doing the content now for that, and the material now for that, and that'll be out coming up soon. And I don't have the website up yet because I have to put the content on there before I put the website up on YouTube and Patreon and Spotify. It'll be all on the same platforms.
When you do that, I think I'm probably gonna put this one's evergreen, so I'm probably gonna put this out in about a month. When you do that, if it's not up yet, when it goes up, just let me know and we'll put the links.
We'll have it up by then.
All right, good.
Yeah, we'll have it up by then.
Red, I really appreciate this, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very, very much.
Of course.
Let's do this again.
Of course.
I love it.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.